Welcome to Cello. At readcello.com, you create personalized novels based on your input. You can also find a library of ebooks and audiobooks just like this one. This free audiobook of War of Shadows is brought to you by readcello.com. Enjoy the book. War of Shadows has been written and narrated by the amazing team at readcello.com. Dedication. This book is dedicated to the adrenaline seeker. The adrenaline seeker reads for the rush. They crave high-stakes action, intense battles, and heart-pounding twists that keep them on the edge of their seat. For them, books are an experience, something that should grip them from page one and never let go. They don't just want a good story, they want a ride. They thrive on danger, tension, and urgency. Stories where survival is never guaranteed, where the protagonist is constantly pushed to their limits. Whether it's an action-packed fantasy, a relentless sci-fi thriller, or a pulse-pounding heist, they need momentum, intensity, and stakes that feel real. War of Shadows. Chapter 1, The Last Stand. Kael stands in the dimly lit underground arena, the deafening shouts of the crowd echoing off the concrete walls. He ties his gloves tightly, mentally preparing for the only thing he knows, fighting. The smell of sweat and blood lingers in the air, reminding him of the stakes in this ruthless world. Around him, the energy of the crowd builds, a wild mix of excitement and desperation, fueling his adrenaline. Each cheer and jeer feels like a challenge, urging him to prove himself as a formidable contender. Tonight, he knows, isn't just another fight. It's a chance to reclaim his place in a world that only respects strength. Across the ring, a burly opponent named Rax sneers, boasting about his strength. "You think you can take me down? You're just a boy playing soldier." Kael grits his teeth, the taunt piercing his resolve. This moment ignites a fire in his belly, pushing him to prove Rax wrong. He steadies himself, channeling the energy of the crowd into fierce determination. Kael knows he must show not just Rax, but everyone watching, that he is more than just a fighter. He's a force to be reckoned with. Kael's mentor, Joran, watches from the sidelines, arms crossed, assessing the matchup. He shouts a few strategic tips, urging Kael to stay focused and calm. Remember, use your agility. Don't let him corner you. Kael nods, feeling the intense pressure mixed with determination surging through him. Joran's presence is a grounding force, a reminder of the lessons he's instilled in Kael throughout the years. With the crowd's roar echoing in his ears, Kael absorbs Joran's words, steeling himself for the fight ahead. As the announcer's voice booms, "Let the fight begin," Kael swiftly dodges Rax's initial advance. Quick on his feet, he responds with calculated strikes, each blow infused with determination. The crowd erupts, rallying behind Kael as he gains momentum, feeding off their energy. For every jab Rax throws, Kael counters with speed and agility, feeling the thrill of the fight course through his veins. He's not just fighting to win, he's fighting to prove his worth. In this moment, Kael is fully in his element, the noise of the crowd fading as he becomes one with the rhythm of the battle. Despite his skill, Kael finds himself backed against the ropes, Rax's massive fists landing blows with terrifying precision. Pain blossoms in Kael's side as he struggles to regain control, breath coming in sharp gasps. Doubt flickers within him, challenging his bravado, but he pushes it aside. He remembers Joran's teachings: fight through the pain, adapt to the struggle. Drawing on that resolve, Kael digs deep, pushing himself to rise and counterattack with renewed vigor. With a surge of adrenaline, he lunges forward, determined to turn the tides of the battle once and for all. With the crowd roaring, Kael finally sees an opening. He delivers a powerful uppercut, catching Rax off guard and sending him reeling back. The momentum shifts in Kael's favor, and he capitalizes on this advantage, raining down a series of quick jabs. Each punch feels satisfying, empowering him as he fights fiercely for respect and recognition. He locks eyes with Joran in the crowd, seeing pride and encouragement reflected back at him. In that fleeting moment, Kael understands this fight is more than just survival. It's about proving he belongs in this ruthless world. Chapter 2, Broken Alliances. After the match, Kael leaves the underground arena, adrenaline still coursing through him. He wipes the sweat and blood from his face, heart racing from the thrill of victory. The air outside is cool, and the sounds of the city feel oddly tranquil compared to the chaos of the fight. As he walks through the streets, he contemplates his next moves, knowing the victory brought only temporary relief. He spots familiar faces in the crowd, exchanges nods of recognition, and feels a sense of belonging swell within him. This moment, however small, roots him to the world outside the arena, a world where survival means more than just winning fights. It means forging connections. As he navigates through the bustling streets, Kael assesses the challenges awaiting him. The crowd buzzes with life, vendors hawking their goods, but his mind races with thoughts of responsibility. He knows he needs to gather resources, food, supplies, and allies to solidify his standing after the victory. Spotting a market stall filled with fresh fruits and vegetables, he approaches, nodding to the vendor. "Can I trade for some supplies?" he asks, trying to project confidence despite the uncertainty simmering beneath the surface. The vendor eyes him critically, as if gauging the worth of the encounter, but Kael stands firm, ready to negotiate for what he needs. Just then, a familiar voice interrupts him. "Kael, it's been a while," says Mira, stepping forward with a grin, her hands on her hips. She stands by another stall, holding a bundle of supplies. "Heard you put on quite the show in the ring today." Kael feels a mix of relief and warmth at seeing a friendly face. "Thanks. I was just about to secure some supplies. What about you?" he responds, genuinely happy to catch up. Mira gestures towards her collection. "I'm doing the same. This place is a treasure trove if you know where to look." Her enthusiasm draws Kael in, making him feel more connected to the world around him. Kael watches Mira as she expertly negotiates with the vendor, her words smooth and confident. "Look, this bundle is worth more than what you're asking. You know it, and I know it. How about we agree on a fair price?" The vendor's brows furrow, considering her offer, and Kael admires her assertiveness. She catches Kael's eye and smirks. "You see? It's not just about trading items. It's about knowing your worth." Her willingness to stand up for herself inspires Kael, sparking a deeper understanding of how to navigate this environment. He realizes the importance of not just asking for what he needs, but also demonstrating the value of the connections he forms. As the vendor finally agrees to Mira's terms, Kael feels a surge of confidence. "Maybe I should take a page from your book," he chuckles, watching the transaction unfold. Mira turns to him, a playful glint in her eyes. "You should. We could use someone with your skills negotiating more often." Kael laughs, but the compliment carries weight. It highlights his potential beyond fighting. He steps forward, ready to make his own deal, feeling encouraged by Mira's confidence. With the assurance of support from allies like her, he recognizes that his journey extends beyond the arena and into a world where relationships and negotiation can reshape their future. Kael turns back to the vendor, ready to assert his presence. "I'm looking for supplies, food, resources, whatever you have that can help my team prepare for what's coming," he states firmly, projecting a newfound confidence. The vendor raises an eyebrow, scrutinizing him. "You think you can make all that happen?" "Yes, I can. We've come to take what we need, and I'd prefer to negotiate rather than fight over it," Kael replies, his tone steady and resolute. The vendor hesitates, taken aback by Kael's assertiveness. With a mixture of respect and caution, he begins to gather items, sensing that Kael is no longer just a fighter, but a leader prepared to secure what's essential for the coming challenges. Chapter 3: Shadows of Deceit. As Kael navigates further into the marketplace, he suddenly notices a flicker of light catching his attention from a nearby alley. Intrigued, he slows his pace, sensing something out of place amid the ordinary bustle of the market. The flickering glow pulses subtly, drawing him in with an odd allure, making him question what secrets it might hide. He debates whether to investigate it or continue with his mission, feeling the tension build within him. After a moment's hesitation, curiosity takes over, and he decides to approach, determined to uncover the source of the light. With each step, he mentally prepares himself for whatever he might find, aware that danger often lurks in the shadows. As Kael nears the alleyway, he peers into the shadows, curiosity mingling with caution. He squints, straining to see what lies within, and spots a tangle of wires running into a rusted circuit box, the source of the flickering light. Realizing the potential danger it poses, he steps closer, determined to assess the situation. Kael digs into his backpack, retrieving his tools, intent on fixing the issue before it escalates. His heart races, knowing that electrical failures in this environment could lead to chaos, and he intends to prevent that. With steady hands, he begins to work on the circuit box, focused on solving the problem, feeling a sense of responsibility settle over him as he engages with the challenge. Just then, as Kael carefully adjusts the wires inside the circuit box, a sudden noise from behind startles him. He turns to find a stranger, an imposing figure emerging from the shadows with a wary glance. "Looks like you've stumbled onto something you shouldn't be tampering with," the stranger warns, fingers twitching near a weapon at their side. Kael feels tension rise, assessing the stranger's intentions. "I'm just trying to fix this. It's a hazard for everyone nearby," he replies, attempting to maintain calm while strategically placing himself between the circuit box and the potential threat. The stranger quirks an eyebrow, considering Kael's words but not lowering their guard. Kael can sense the battle of wills unfolding, knowing the wrong move could escalate things quickly. Feeling the weight of the moment, Kael decides to take a diplomatic approach. "I get that you're on edge. There's been a lot of tension in the area, but I'm only trying to help," he says, keeping his tone steady and inviting. The stranger's posture relaxes slightly, but their eyes remain suspicious. "Helping, huh? How do I know you're not just another thug looking to stir up trouble?" Kael takes a breath, understanding the need to build trust. "You don't, but if I don't fix this, it could cause bigger issues for everyone here. I'd rather work together to make it safer than to have it blow up in our faces." The stranger studies him for a moment, weighing his sincerity against their instincts. Finally, after a long pause, they reply, "All right, fix it, but you better not make things worse." With the stranger's cautious agreement, Kael refocuses on the circuit box, guiding his hands as he reconnects the loose wires with precision. He feels the adrenaline fade slightly, replaced by a sense of purpose. As he works, he becomes aware of the stranger watching him closely, evaluating his actions for any sign of deceit. "I've seen too many people ignore warnings only to regret it later," the stranger remarks, arms crossed. "If you can manage to fix this, I might reconsider my view of you." Kael nods, acknowledging the weight of their words. "I understand. Safety should always come first." With a final adjustment, he tightens the last connection and stands back, watching for any signs of malfunction. The light stabilizes, shining steadily now, and for the first time, Kael feels a sense of satisfaction wash over him. As the light stabilizes, Kael turns to the stranger, a smile breaking across his face. "I think it's working," he says, feeling a wave of relief mixed with triumph. The stranger uncrosses their arms, finally offering a nod of approval. "Looks like you're not just all talk after all." Kael feels a surge of gratitude at the unexpected validation, realizing how much this small victory means in gaining respect. "Thanks for giving me a chance to prove myself," he replies, his tone genuine. This moment marks a shift, showcasing Kael's ability to navigate challenges not just through strength, but through collaboration and trust building. As the heat of the day begins to wane, Kael feels hopeful about the possibilities ahead, both for himself and his newfound ally. Chapter 4, Inferno Unleashed. As Kael navigates back into the heart of the marketplace, he feels the vibrations of lively chatter and bustling activity wash over him. The day is winding down, the sun dipping low in the sky, bathing the area in warm, golden light. He takes a moment to gather his thoughts, reflecting on the successes and challenges ahead, knowing that every encounter now shapes his journey. Focused, he scans the crowd, seeking familiar faces, allies who can assist in the mission ahead. The energy feels electric, charged with the anticipation of opportunities and risks yet to come. As he moves deeper into the throng, the realization strikes him. He's not alone in this fight anymore, and every interaction counts. Spotting a vendor selling weapons nearby, Kael strides over, ready to make a deal. "Do you have any updated gear? We need everything we can get," he asserts, scanning the selection laid out before him. The vendor, a grizzled old man, eyes him warily. "What makes you think I'm willing to deal with a kid like you?" Kael meets his gaze, determination flickering in his eyes. "Because I'm not just another fighter. I'm building a team to protect what matters. I have credits, and I'm ready to trade." He feels the weight of his words as he realizes they carry both promise and responsibility. The vendor studies him a moment longer before nodding and pulling out a selection of weapons that glint under the fading sunlight. Just as Kael examines the selection of weapons, a familiar voice interrupts him. "Mira, perfect timing," Kael calls out as she approaches, her arms laden with supplies from her own scavenging. She glances at the vendor and raises an eyebrow. "What are you getting into now?" Kael gestures to the weapons. "We need to gear up for what's coming. I'm making sure we're prepared." Mira looks impressed, but cautious. "Just be careful. Vendors can be tricky. Make sure you're not overpaying or trading too much away." Her concern highlights their shared experiences, reminding Kael of the importance of trust and discernment when negotiating. "Thanks, I will," he assures her, appreciating her support as he explores the vendor's offerings with renewed purpose. As Kael continues to assess the weapons, the vendor interjects. "These aren't toys. They require real skill to wield. You'll have to prove you're worth the trade." Kael straightens, feeling the pressure mount. "I understand that. I'm ready to showcase my skills. I've been training hard." Mira watches intently, sensing the tension in the vendor's challenging gaze. "Just remember, Kael, your words carry weight. Show them you mean business," she advises, her confidence in him palpable. In response, Kael nods, taking a deep breath as he prepares to demonstrate his abilities. He picks up one of the weapons, running through familiar combat techniques, showing the vendor that he's more than capable and ready to take on greater challenges ahead. Kael steps back, focusing intently as he readies himself to display his skills with the weapon. He moves through a series of practiced strikes and defensive maneuvers, quick and fluid as each motion becomes second nature. The vendor watches, his expression shifting from skepticism to a reluctant respect as Kael demonstrates his proficiency. Mira nods in approval, her confidence in Kael's capabilities reaffirmed. In the midst of the practice, Kael feels the adrenaline flow through him, igniting a fire of determination as he showcases his growth. With each movement, he reinforces not just his own abilities, but also the belief that he is truly ready to lead his team through the challenges ahead. As Kael finishes his demonstration, the vendor's eyes widen with newfound appreciation. "Well, you certainly have some skills," he concedes, finally breaking into a grin. "I'll consider what you've brought to trade." Kael feels a rush of triumph at winning over the vendor, knowing that his efforts have paved the way for future dealings. "Thank you. I promise you won't regret this trade," he replies, confidence resonating in his voice. Mira steps closer, a smile on her face. "See, you had it in you all along. It's about time they recognized your potential." As they finalize the exchange, Kael feels a sense of accomplishment wash over him, reinforcing the dedication to his mission and the bonds he's building along the way. Chapter 5, A Dangerous Proposition. As Kael navigates back through the bustling marketplace, he suddenly feels a surge of anticipation. The vibrant colors and lively sounds around him ignite a sense of hope, but the weight of their upcoming mission lingers in the back of his mind. He knows that every decision he makes from here out could determine their fate, and with each step, he becomes more conscious of the responsibilities ahead. He scouts the crowd for familiar faces, seeking out allies who have stood by him through thick and thin. Taking a deep breath, he mentally prepares himself for the next challenges, feeling a renewed sense of purpose, fueled by the connections he has been forging. Kael understands that this journey is about more than just survival. It's about building a future for his team and fighting for what they believe in. As Kael approaches a vendor selling maps, he notices an assortment of worn-out documents pinned to a weathered board. He steps forward, drawn in by the promise of knowledge that could shift the odds in their favor. "Excuse me, can you tell me which of these will help me navigate the rival territories?" he asks, his tone steady, projecting the confidence he has built. The vendor, an older woman with sharp eyes, regards him carefully before responding. "These maps are valuable, but be warned, some paths lead to trouble." Kael meets her gaze, understanding the weight of her warning. "I need the best route, and I'm prepared for the risks." With her nod of approval, she hands him a map with detailed markings, underscoring the importance of adapting their strategies for the battles to come. As Kael studies the map, he becomes aware of a pair of eyes watching him from the corner of the stall. A young man, thin and nervous, approaches cautiously. "You're planning to take on the rivals, aren't you?" he says, his voice barely above a whisper. Kael looks up, surprised by the stranger's interest. "That's the plan. Do you know something that could help?" The young man fidgets, glancing around as if afraid someone might overhear. "I've heard whispers. There are traps laid out near their territory. It could change everything." Kael feels a mix of hope and skepticism, recognizing the potential value in this information. "If you know more, it could save lives. Why are you telling me this?" Looking conflicted, the young man shrugs. "I just don't want to see anyone else get hurt." Kael studies the young man, sensing a deeper story behind his fears. "Listen, if you know where those traps are, that information is invaluable," he urges, his tone firm yet encouraging. The young man hesitates, biting his lip. "I don't know if I should get involved. People out there, they're dangerous." Recognizing his apprehension, Kael leans in slightly, trying to connect. "I understand the risks, but staying silent could put even more lives in danger. You have the chance to make a difference." After a long pause, the young man nods, his resolve solidifying as he begins to share what he knows. "All right, I heard they set a few traps by the old railway station near their hideout. It's a dangerous area, but..." His voice trails off as he glances around again, nervous about being overheard. Kael reassures him. "You're doing the right thing. Thank you." With the crucial information shared, Kael takes a deep breath, feeling a renewed purpose surge within him. "Let's make sure we're ready for anything. I need to inform my team right away," he states, determination at the forefront of his mind. As the young man nods, Kael glances down at the map, committing the new details to memory while plotting their next move. He reaches into his pocket, pulling out a few credits. "Here, for your help. You've earned it," he insists, extending the cash toward the nervous ally. The young man looks surprised, shaking his head. "I just want to help. No need for money." Kael meets his gaze. "You deserve something for risking your neck. It's a start to rebuilding trust and making a real change." After a brief moment of hesitation, the young man accepts the credits, a mixture of gratitude and surprise on his face. "Thank you. I'll keep my ears open for more information," he replies, determination sparking in his eyes. Kael watches as he slips the credits into his pocket, feeling a sense of accomplishment at having forged a new connection. "Stay safe out here," Kael advises, nodding in respect before turning to make his way back to the training grounds. As he moves through the marketplace, the bustling activity around him seems less daunting than before. With each step, he feels more confident in his leadership, aware that every small action compounds into the greater mission they're striving for. Chapter 6, The Call to Arms. In the heart of the training grounds, Kael gathers his team, determination etched on his face. The atmosphere crackles with anticipation as he addresses them, resolved to embark on the next phase of their mission. "Today, we commit to taking the fight to the rivals," he announces, his voice steady and commanding. The team looks up, a mix of apprehension and excitement flickering in their expressions. "This time, we'll be using the intel we gathered, and we'll be ready for anything," he continues, feeling the weight of responsibility settle on his shoulders. As he scans the faces of his comrades, he senses their readiness to follow his lead, solidifying the bond that has grown through shared adversity. Kael begins assigning specific roles to each member, his voice clear and focused. "Zara, you'll coordinate the diversion. We'll need your skills to draw them out." Zara nods, a fierce determination in her eyes, ready to take charge of the mission. "Rax, I need you to scout ahead and keep an eye on any potential traps the rival gang may have set up. Your instincts have always been sharp." Rax looks a bit hesitant but swells with pride at being entrusted with this responsibility. Kael continues, outlining the details. "We need to stick to the plan, but be ready to adapt if things don't go as expected. Trust your training." The intensity in the room rises as everyone gears up, the collective focus sharpening their resolve as they prepare for the challenge ahead. As the team begins to mobilize, Kael feels the flicker of tension lingering in the air. Rax approaches him quietly, doubt still etched on his face. "Are you sure about this, Kael? What if we encounter more resistance than we expect?" Kael turns to face him, recognizing the concern behind his words. I understand your hesitation, Rax, but we can't let fear stop us. We've trained for this, and we need to trust each other. Rax meets Kael's earnest gaze, uncertainty fading slightly as he absorbs the reassurance. All right, I trust you. It's just, after everything we've been through, I can't help but worry, he admits, revealing the underlying fear of loss that still haunts him. Kael pats Rax on the shoulder, solidifying their bond. We'll make it through, I promise. Together. With the team gathered and roles assigned, Kael takes a moment to assess the gathered supplies and equipment. He makes sure every member has what they need, ensuring their confidence in the upcoming mission. Check your gear and weapons, and make sure you have enough supplies. We're in this together, and every detail counts, he urges, his voice echoing with determination. His steady presence brings a sense of order amidst their nervous energy, reinforcing the trust they have built over time. As he watches everyone prepare, Kael notices Zara sharpening her knives, a fierce focus in her eyes. Ready for whatever comes our way, Kael, she says, a confident smile breaking across her face, igniting a spark of optimism in the team. As the team finishes their final checks, Kael feels the weight of anticipation in the air. He glances at the group, seeing a mix of determination and apprehension on their faces. Remember the plan? He reminds them, his tone firm but encouraging. We stick together, adapt as needed, and support one another. The camaraderie in the room feels tangible. Teammates exchange nods and affirmations, solidifying their bonds. Kael can sense the shift in the atmosphere, a collective resolve ready to face the unknown. Before they head out, he takes a moment to recognize their collective strength, knowing that they will be tested but confident in their ability to prevail together. With their mission set, Kael gathers the team for a final huddle, his voice steady and resolute. Let's take a moment to reinforce why we're here. This isn't just about the fight, it's about our home, our families, and our future. His words resonate, igniting a fire within the group as they connect with the deeper purpose behind their actions. Zara steps forward, her gaze fierce. For our cause, we won't back down. The team echoes her sentiment, enthusiasm building as they feel the energy of collective purpose fueling their resolve. Kael looks around, sensing the trust they've built over time, and feels a swell of pride. Together, we can face anything. Let's move out, he commands, leading them into the uncertain night, fully committed to the journey ahead. Chapter 7, The Edge of Descent. As Kael and his team move stealthily through the shadows of the rival territory, the tension hangs heavy in the air. Every sound seems amplified. The rustling leaves, distant noises of the city, and their own hushed breaths. Kael leads them carefully, his senses heightened, knowing the stakes are high, and one mistake could jeopardize their mission. He surveys their surroundings, keenly aware of the shifting dynamics and the uncertainty surrounding them. Stick close and stay sharp, he whispers, the urgency of the moment coursing through him. As they navigate through the unfamiliar environment, the shadows seem to close in, reminding Kael of both the danger they face and the courage he must inspire in his team. As they move deeper into enemy territory, Kael signals the group to halt near an old warehouse, its shadow looming ominously. Let's check for any intel before proceeding, he instructs quietly, scanning the area for signs of life. Zara, brimming with energy, suggests, I'll go around the back and see if I can listen in on any conversations. Kael nods, appreciating her initiative. Be careful, stay low and keep your distance, he reminds her, the weight of leadership resting on his shoulders. Meanwhile, Rax fidgets, a look of uncertainty crossing his face. What if they spot you? We can't afford to lose anyone else, he voices, revealing his lingering fears. Kael turns to him, determined to address the concern. We'll have a plan ready for any scenario. Trust in each other. We move as a team. Kael watches as Zara slips around the corner of the warehouse, her silhouette blending into the shadows. He waits with bated breath, counting the seconds, keenly aware that every moment carries the potential for discovery or disaster. Rax shifts nervously beside him, glancing at Kael with apprehension. Do you think she's okay? He whispers, anxiety evident in his voice. She knows what she's doing, Kael replies, trying to quell his own doubts while keeping his focus on the entrance. Just then, a muffled sound echoes from within the warehouse, and Kael's heart races. Stay alert, he warns, narrowing his eyes as he anticipates Zara's return with critical information that could influence their next move. Moments later, Zara re-emerges from the shadows, her expression serious as she waves Kael and Rax over. "What did you find?" Kael asks, urgency threading through his voice as he approaches her. "That warehouse is a hub for their operations. I overheard them talking about plans to expand their territory and some new recruits," she replies, her voice steady despite the weight of the information. Kael's mind races, connecting the dots. "If we act now, we can disrupt their plans before they solidify their power." Zara nods, but Rax interjects. "What if this isn't enough? Do we really want to risk everything on this?" Kael feels the tension rise, both gratitude for Zara's intel and doubt from Rax threatening to unravel their momentum. "We can't wait for the perfect moment. We need to capitalize on this lead and push forward." Kael takes a deep breath, attempting to quell his own uncertainty. "Listen, I know it's risky, but every moment we hesitate gives them a chance to fortify their position," he explains, reinforcing the urgency in his tone. Zara steps closer, supportive but cautious. "We need to have a solid plan if we're going in. Are we prepared for the consequences?" "Absolutely," Kael replies, feeling the weight of leadership settle on his shoulders. "We'll use the element of surprise. I want everyone ready for a quick strike." The determination in his voice sparks a flicker of confidence among his team, rallying their spirits as they focus on the task at hand. Kael scans their faces, reassured by the willingness to follow his lead, knowing they are united in their goal. With the plan solidifying in their minds, Kael motions for everyone to gather in a circle. "Let's make sure we all understand our roles before we make our move," he states firmly, ensuring that communication flows through the group. Zara takes charge of organizing the diversion, while Rax prepares to lead the logistics of the attack. "Stay on my signal and maintain communication," Kael emphasizes, glancing at their makeshift communication devices. He feels a surge of confidence as he sees his team nod in agreement, their readiness reinforcing his conviction. "Together, we'll disrupt their plans and show them that we won't back down," he concludes, igniting a sense of mutual determination that binds the group tighter as they prepare for the impending confrontation. Chapter 8: The Calm Before the Storm. As Kael and his team stealthily approach the rival stronghold, the atmosphere thickens with tension. The night air is crisp, and the shadows deepen around them, cloaking their movements as they position themselves for the attack. Kael can hear the distant sounds of laughter and chatter emanating from within, a stark contrast to the focus and seriousness of his team. He pauses at a corner to assess their surroundings, feeling the weight of responsibility settle heavily on his shoulders. "Stay quiet and stick to the plan," he whispers to his teammates, scanning for any guards or potential threats. With adrenaline coursing through him, Kael feels both the thrill of the imminent confrontation and the gravity of what lies ahead. Kael's eyes flicker to a cluster of shadows moving near the entrance of the stronghold. He motions for silence as they huddle closer together, preparing to observe the guards' patterns. "Zara, we need a diversion," he whispers, his voice low but urgent. She nods, understanding the unsaid plan, and slips into the darkness, ready to execute her role. As the seconds stretch, Kael's heart races, aware that timing is crucial. He senses the weight of their mission pressing down, knowing that any misstep could jeopardize everything they've worked toward. Zara moves swiftly through the shadows, her heart pounding with adrenaline as she nears the entrance. She picks up a small rock and throws it toward a nearby trash pile, creating a loud clatter that draws the guard's attention. "Hey, go check that out!" one guard shouts, his voice laced with annoyance as he and his partner head toward the source of the noise. Kael watches closely, nodding in approval as the distraction successfully diverts their focus away from the main entrance. "Now's our chance," he whispers to his team, feeling a surge of urgency surge through him as they prepare to make their move. With the guards momentarily occupied, Kael leads the charge, confidence bolstered by Zara's quick thinking and their well-coordinated strategy. As Kael and his team slip into the stronghold, his heart races with a mix of anticipation and concern. Navigating through dimly lit corridors, The tension rises as every creak of the floorboards sends adrenaline coursing through him. They move stealthily, Kael leading the charge, while constantly assessing their surroundings for potential threats. He gestures for silence, reminding everyone to keep their voices low, aware that the slightest mistake could cost them dearly. "Stay close and watch each other's backs," he whispers, the urgency of the moment heightening his focus. With the stakes so high, Kael feels the pressure mount, understanding that their success hinges on their ability to work together flawlessly. As they navigate deeper into the stronghold, Kael notices a faint sound of voices ahead, his instincts kicking in. He signals for the team to stop, squatting low and motioning for Zara to scout ahead. "Listen up. We need to know if they're planning anything," he whispers, feeling the weight of the moment press down on him. Zara nods, slipping away quietly to assess the situation, while Kael's heart pounds in his chest, anxiously waiting for her return. Moments stretch as the silence amplifies, filling Kael with a mixture of anticipation and unease. When Zara finally returns, her expression is serious. "They're plotting something big. We need to act fast before they're ready," she reports, heightening the urgency of their mission. Kael's mind races as he processes Zara's information, knowing they must act decisively. "Let's split up, create distractions while we target their leaders," he instructs, urgency lacing his voice. Zara and Rax exchange glances, the weight of the decision evident between them. "We're vulnerable if we separate," Rax points out, anxiety creeping into his tone. Kael meets his gaze, unwavering. "I know the risks, but it's our best chance. Trust our training and each other." With the group nodding in agreement, Kael feels a surge of confidence as he realizes his role as a leader is becoming clearer, guiding them into the unknown with purpose. Chapter 9, The Crossroads. Kael steps into the dimly lit alley, his heart racing as he glances back at his team, who huddle together. The darkness closes in around them as they prepare for the next phase of their ambitious plan. Shadows flicker against the walls, and Kael feels the adrenaline spike in anticipation of what lies ahead. "We need to stay sharp," he reminds his team, his voice low but firm. Every sound echoes louder in the narrow passage, and he can sense the weight of their mission pressing down on them. With determination surging through his veins, Kael takes a deep breath, refocusing on the task at hand, aware that their success depends on their unity. Kael's eyes scan the surroundings as they move deeper into the alley, every step filled with purpose. He studies the walls for signs of activity, noting the faint scuff marks and remnants of past encounters. "Let's check for any guards before we proceed," he whispers to Zara, who nods in agreement, slipping ahead quietly. Kael stands still, his heartbeat matching the rhythm of the city sounds surrounding them. Moments pass, tension mounting until Zara returns, her expression serious. "It's clear for now, but we need to move fast." Her urgency fuels Kael's determination, and he quietly signals the team to follow, ready to execute their plan with precision. As Kael leads the team through the narrow passage, he feels the weight of their decisions pressing down on him. He glances back occasionally, ensuring everyone is keeping pace, aware that any hesitation could cost them dearly. "Stay alert and watch each other's backs," he instructs, his voice steady despite the tension thickening the air. Suddenly, a soft noise echoes from further down the alley, causing everyone to freeze. Kael raises a hand, signaling for silence as he strains to listen, heart pounding as he considers their next move. "I think I heard something," Zara whispers, eyes wide, and Kael feels the uncertainty shared among the group. Kael motions for everyone to crouch low, instinctively drawing his weapon. "Zara, check it out," he whispers, nodding toward the end of the alley. With a determined look, she nods back and slips forward, moving quietly as her figure blends into the shadows. The atmosphere crackles with tension as Kael watches, holding his breath, heart racing at the looming uncertainty. He senses Rax beside him, anxiety apparent as he mutters, "What if they catch her?" Kael clenches his jaw, aware that their success depends on their ability to remain coordinated and strong. A moment later, Zara returns, urgency etched in her expression. "There are 2 guards ahead and they're on high alert. We need a new plan." Kael's mind races as he processes Zara's information, quickly shifting into problem-solving mode. "All right, we need to create a distraction to draw them away from their post," he declares, brainstorming on the fly. He glances around the alleyway, searching for anything they can use. Rax, find something we can throw to create noise on the opposite side. Rax nods, looking around frantically, while Zara remains alert, ready to assist. We could use that old crate, Zara points out, her voice firm. If we launch it over there, it should get their attention. Kael quickly assesses the plan, feeling confident in their agile response, then instructs, let's move. Stay sharp and be ready to follow up once we create the diversion. With a quick nod, Rax rushes to grab the old crate, his movements fueled by urgency. Kael positions himself, ready to execute the plan while keeping an eye on the guards. On my count, he whispers, adrenaline sharpening his focus. As Rax lifts the crate, Kael holds his breath, counting softly. 3, 2, 1, now! Rax hurls the crate down the alley, and it lands with a loud crash, splintering as it hits the ground. In an instant, both guards turn, rushing toward the noise, giving Kael and the team their precious window of opportunity. Chapter 10. Ambush in the alley. As Kael and his team slip into the stronghold, the tension is palpable. He feels the adrenaline pumping through his veins, each heartbeat echoing the urgency of their mission. The dimly lit space is filled with the sounds of distant voices and the clinking of metal. Kael gestures for silence, reminding everyone to stay alert while they carefully navigate the labyrinth of shadows. With every step, the stakes heighten, a weight settling behind his ribs as he contemplates the potential dangers lurking within. He focuses on the goal ahead, determined to secure the information and resources they need to overcome the rival gang. Kael's eyes flicker to a cluster of shadows moving near the entrance of the stronghold. He motions for the group to hold position, their bodies blending into the darkness as they prepare to observe the guards' patterns. Zara, we need a distraction, he whispers, his voice low but urgent. She nods, understanding the intensity of the moment, and slips away with deft movements, ready to execute her role. Kael stands still, his heartbeat quickening as he anticipates their next move, focused on rising tensions and the door opening for their mission. When Zara returns, her expression serious, Kael leans in, ready to absorb what she found. Zara returns, her brow furrowed with intensity. There are 2 guards stationed at the entrance, and they're extremely vigilant, she reports, her voice steady despite the weight of the news. Kael feels the familiar surge of anxiety, but knows they must act. What are our options? He asks, seeking answers that could guide their next move. We could try to create a diversion again, but it might be riskier this time, Zara suggests, her eyes scanning the surroundings for hints of possible escape routes. Kael nods, considering the implications while weighing the urgency of their mission against the potential dangers ahead. Kael's heart races as he contemplates the situation, aware that hesitation could lead to failure. We've successfully pulled off distractions before, he says, pacing slightly, but we need to be smarter about it this time. Zara watches him closely, her expression both anxious and trusting. What if we split up? Create distractions on both sides to confuse them. Kael considers her suggestion, recognizing the potential advantages. That could work, but we have to be quick and coordinated. Communication is key, he replies, a plan beginning to form in his mind. He turns to the rest of the team, gathering their energy. We'll execute a 2-pronged approach. If we stick together through the chaos, we can turn their vigilance against them. Kael's confidence begins to sharpen as he speaks, inspired by the possibilities that emerge from the group's adaptability. As Kael outlines the plan, he feels the urgency in the air press against him. Zara, you'll take the west side and create a noise to draw them away. Rax, stay with me on the east side. We'll flank them once we see the guards distracted, he instructs, his voice steady and commanding. The team nods, understanding their roles, and the tension begins to shift into a sense of purpose as they prepare for the mission. So when do we go? Rax asks, anxiety betraying his confidence. On my mark, Kael replies, locking eyes with each team member, instilling them with reassurance and clarity. With their roles defined, Kael allows himself a moment to breathe, feeling ready as he prepares for the execution, knowing that the success of this plan hinges on their trust and teamwork. With the plan in place, Kael raises a hand, signaling the start of their operation. Now, he shouts, adrenaline surging through him as Zara darts toward her assigned position, expertly weaving through the shadows. As she reaches the west side, she flips a small device that lets out a loud, rhythmic thump, grabbing the guard's attention. Kael and Rax move in tandem, slipping unnoticed to the east as the guards shift their focus, distracted by the unexpected noise. Kael's heart pounds as they quickly approach the entrance, the sound of their quiet footsteps echoing in his ears. "Keep moving," Kael urges Rax, feeling the thrill of ambush well up within him as they prepare to engage the enemy in a fierce confrontation. Chapter 11, The Call to Arms. As the team slips into the heart of the rival territory, Kael feels a rush of adrenaline accompanied by a wave of anxiety. The shadows seem to pulse around them, thick with the lingering tension of previous encounters. He takes a moment to gather his thoughts, focusing on the mission at hand, despite the nagging doubt in the back of his mind. "Stay sharp, everyone. We must stick to the plan," he whispers, emphasizing the need for unity. The weight of the moment hangs heavy, filled with the potential for danger at every turn. Kael's determination hardens as he leads the way, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. As they weave through the shadows, Kael's instincts sharpen, every sound alerting him to potential danger. He notices flickers of movement from the guards stationed ahead and motions for the team to pause. "Let's scope out the area before we make our move," he instructs, his voice low but steady. Kael takes careful steps closer to the entrance, straining to hear snippets of conversation among the rival gang members, weighing their options as he assesses the tension in the air. "Stay low and stay quiet," he reminds his teammates, feeling the gravity of the moment as they prepare for the next phase. Kael's heart pounds in rhythm with the urgency surging through him, knowing that each decision they make could shift the balance of the mission. Zara, sensing the tension building, whispers to Kael, "If we move quickly, we can catch them off guard before they realize we're here." Kael nods, weighing her suggestion against the risks. "Agreed, but we need to be smart about it. Any misstep could jeopardize everything." He exchanges glances with Rax, who stands nearby, a mix of fear and determination painted on his face. "Are you sure we're ready for this?" Rax asks, his voice tinged with doubt. Kael meets his gaze, the pressure settling in the depths of his chest. "We've trained for moments like this. Trust in our skills and each other." With a shared nod, the group steels themselves, drawing strength from Kael's steady conviction as they prepare to push forward into the unknown. As they prepare to move, Kael takes a deep breath, focusing on the task ahead. "Remember the plan. We create diversions, and then we strike," he reminds the team, reminding them of their roles. Zara glances at Kael, determination in her eyes. "I'll handle the east side. Just give me the signal when to launch." Kael smirks, appreciating her confidence. "You'll know when," he assures her. Rax shifts anxiously, the apprehension still lingering, but Kael's leadership begins to infuse him with courage. "Let's move," Kael commands, feeling a surge of adrenaline as the group slips into action, ready to execute their strategy. As they advance deeper into the territory, Kael feels the tension in the air grow thick. He notices Zara moving into position, her focus unbroken as she prepares to initiate the distraction. "Now!" Kael hisses, his heart racing as Zara launches her distraction, creating chaos at the west end. The guards turn, momentarily caught off guard as they rush toward the commotion, exactly as Kael had planned. "Go, go, go," he urges, signaling for the team to move swiftly toward the main objective while the guards are distracted. Every muscle in Kael's body is alert as he leads the charge, his confidence bolstered by their teamwork and strategy, knowing they must capitalize on this crucial opportunity. As Kael and his team rush through the entrance, the adrenaline pushes them forward, each step heavy with anticipation. They navigate the dimly lit corridors, the sound of chaos echoing from Zara's diversion fueling their determination. Kael's heart pounds as he leads the way, relying on the map and intel they gathered to direct them through the maze-like structure. "Stay focused and keep your formation," he calls, reminding them of the importance of teamwork amidst the tension. Suddenly, a loud crash reverberates behind them, and Kael turns to see Rax struggling with two rival fighters who have noticed their breach. "Kael, I could use some help here," Rax shouts, urgency lacing his words as the team reacts quickly, prepared to support him in the escalating conflict. Chapter 12, A Moment of Frustration. With the dust of the conflict settling, Kael surveys the aftermath of the battle. The room is filled with remnants of the fight, broken furniture, scattered weapons, and the sound of heavy breathing as the team takes stock of their situation. He can feel the weight of loss in the air, the palpable tension as they process both their victories and the gaps left by fallen allies. Determined to regain control, Kael begins to organize everyone, his voice steady. We need to assess what we have and what we lost, collect everything we can use. As he speaks, he scans the faces of his comrades, recognizing the exhaustion and fear in their eyes. Kael knows this moment requires both clarity and leadership, prompting him to focus on stabilizing their position and planning for the challenges that still lie ahead. Kael walks carefully through the debris, taking inventory of the gathered resources and assessing the team's injuries. Let's separate into groups to maximize our efficiency, he instructs, focusing on logistical adjustments that will stabilize their operations moving forward. His voice carries a sense of urgency as he highlights the need to regroup and ensure they have what they need to continue. Rax, still recovering from the earlier battle, glances around the room. What if we're ambushed again? We can't risk another fight without proper gear. Kael nods, acknowledging the validity of Rax's concern while pushing his own doubts aside. I get it. We'll fortify our defenses before making any more moves. His resolve solidifies, and he begins coordinating the teams, illustrating his growth in being able to adapt their approach while maintaining focus on their mission. As Kael organizes the team, Zara steps forward, her brow furrowed with concern. Kael, I know you mean well, but we've put ourselves in a vulnerable position, she says, her voice steady but laced with anxiety. Kael meets her gaze, sensing her genuine worry and feeling the tension it creates among the team. I understand the risks, but we can't let fear define our choices. We have to act while we still can, he replies, striving to reassure her and the rest of the group. Zara nods, but uncertainty still flickers in her eyes, revealing the weight of their situation. Kael recognizes that even with the best plans, doubt and fear can easily creep into their dynamic, testing his leadership and resolve. As the discussions continue, Kael feels the pressure mounting on his shoulders. He takes a moment to pause, acknowledging that every decision they make will have consequences. Remember, every choice we make shapes our path forward. We need to learn from our mistakes, not dwell on them, he states, trying to uplift the group's spirits. Rax lets out a nervous breath, glancing at the scattered supplies. And what if we lose even more? What then? Kael realizes that their unity will depend on his ability to instill confidence. We adapt and find new ways to press on. We've survived together this far. We won't stop now. This moment clarifies Kael's role as a leader, showcasing his resilience and commitment to pushing through the shadows of doubt that loom over them. Kael gathers the team again, determined to channel their unease into focused action. We need to regroup and further assess our supplies before making any decisions, he commands, his tone steady and assertive. He divides the team into smaller groups, delegating tasks to identify what they have left and what they can still use. Rax, I want you to take inventory on our weapons. Zara, check our medical supplies and see what we still need. Kael watches as they spring into action, appreciating their willingness to follow through under pressure. This responsibility reinvigorates him, reminding him that even in the face of setbacks, they can build a stronger foundation together. As he sets up a strategy meeting, he feels the collective energy of determination rise, ready to confront whatever challenges lie ahead. As the team completes their inventory, Kael gathers everyone in a circle to discuss their findings. Okay, we're missing crucial supplies, especially medical kits and ammunition, he reports, glancing around at their concerned faces. But we also have some resources we can trade for what we lack, Zara adds, holding up a few valuable items they unearthed during the assessment. Rax crosses his arms, uncertainty still lingering. What if we can't find anyone willing to trade? We could be putting ourselves at further risk. Kael feels the weight of their fears but refuses to waver. We'll scout the market and make connections. We have to adapt and seize every opportunity. His determination radiates through the group, inspiring a sense of unity as they prepare to take proactive steps toward gathering what they need, reflecting the growth he has achieved as a leader. Chapter 13. Thunder in the Night. As Kael steps into the marketplace, the energy buzzes around him, vibrant and chaotic. The scent of spices fills the air, and colorful stalls line the streets, drawing in the hawkers and buyers alike. Kael feels a mix of excitement and apprehension, knowing he must navigate this bustling environment carefully. He scans the faces of the crowd, searching for potential allies and recognizing that every interaction could lead to a valuable resource or a dangerous confrontation. With each step, he is reminded of the stakes involved and how important it is to forge connections. Resolute, Kael strides deeper into the throng, ready to take on the challenge of turning the marketplace into a strategic advantage for his team. Kael approaches a vendor selling supplies, careful to exude confidence as he steps closer to the stall. "I'm looking for weapons and equipment. What do you have?" he asks, scanning the assortment laid out before him. The vendor narrows their eyes, studying Kael carefully. "It depends on what you're willing to trade. You look like someone who's seen some action." Kael leans in slightly, eager to secure what they need. "I have credits and supplies from our last few missions. Let's see if we can make a deal." As he talks, he notices several customers hovering nearby, their interest piqued, and he wonders if they might be potential allies or opportunists. The vendor smirks, intrigued, flipping through items on the table as Kael mentally prepares for the negotiation, ready to leverage every advantage at his disposal. This interaction becomes a test not just of resources, but of his ability to read the room and navigate the complexities of negotiation. As Kael discusses potential trades, he notices a pair of familiar faces entering the market, members of a rival gang known for their ruthlessness. His heart races, sensing the atmosphere shift instantly, tension thickening in the air as everyone becomes aware of their presence. The vendor's demeanor shifts as well, visibly wary of the newcomers. "I don't want any trouble," he mutters, stepping back from Kael. Kael realizes he must act quickly, weighing the risks of continuing the negotiation against the possibility of a confrontation. "Listen, whatever you decide, I need this gear," Kael insists, confident yet carefully assessing the vendor's fear. The vendor looks conflicted, torn between his desire for a profitable deal and the desire to avoid angering the gang, leaving Kael to navigate this precarious situation. Feeling the tension rise, Kael steps closer to the vendor, lowering his voice. "Listen, we don't have to involve them," he urges, casting a glance at the rival gang members still lurking nearby. The vendor's eyes dart nervously between Kael and the newcomers. "If they catch wind of this negotiation," Kael interrupts, his tone firm, "then we will make sure they don't. Trust me, I can handle this." He can sense the vulnerability in the vendor's hesitation, realizing that this moment requires not just words, but decisive actions. Kael straightens up, projecting confidence as he states, "I'll create a distraction. Just keep your eyes on your wares and stick to the deal we were discussing." This determination to regain control over the situation showcases his growth in managing conflicts and guiding others, ready to adapt as needed. Kael positions himself near the entrance of the stall, surveying the situation with keen eyes. He sees one of the rival gang members glance in their direction and feels the urgency building within him. "All right, here goes nothing," he mutters under his breath, scanning the market for something to use as a distraction. Spotting a stack of crates nearby, he takes a deep breath and suddenly sends one tumbling to the ground with a loud crash. The noise draws immediate attention, and the rival gang members turn, curiosity piqued as they move towards the source of the disturbance. With their focus diverted, Kael quickly turns back to the vendor, his voice commanding, "Now let's finalize our trade before it gets chaotic." With the distraction working in their favor, the vendor hurriedly begins to gather the weapons Kael needs. Kael watches the rival gang members move closer, their curiosity pulling them away from the negotiation. "Quickly, let's finalize this," he urges, a sense of urgency escalating as he senses time slipping away. The vendor hesitates for a moment, fear evident in his eyes, but the chaos unfolds around them, prompting him to comply. "All right, take what you need," the vendor says, quickly pushing the weapons toward Kael. As Kael grabs the items, he feels a mixture of relief and excitement, knowing that his quick thinking and adaptability have paid off, solidifying his confidence as a leader. Chapter 14, A Dangerous Proposition. After securing the weapons, Kael gathers his team in a secluded corner of the marketplace to strategize. The atmosphere is charged with anticipation as they prepare to share their plans for the upcoming mission. Joran, Kael's mentor, steps forward, a glint of approval in his eyes. "You've done well in the marketplace, Kael. But remember, true strength lies in strategy, not just the tools you wield." Kael nods, appreciating the guidance as he exhales deeply, ready for the next phase. "Let's use the intel we've gathered to our advantage. We need to design a solid plan," he asserts, focusing on the task at hand. With everyone gathered and eager to contribute, Kael feels the excitement of teamwork begin to flourish, amplifying the energy in the air. With the team surrounding the table, Kael pulls out the map, tracing the routes they discussed earlier. "Here's where we'll set our traps. If we can draw them in, we'll have the upper hand," he explains, marking the locations with a pen. His focus sharpens as he describes the sequence of their plan, emphasizing every detail. "Zara, you'll lead the diversions at the eastern entrance. Rax, keep an eye on their movements from the rear." The team nods, a sense of determination instilling confidence as they absorb his words and visualize their roles. Kael's leadership emerges through the clarity of his instructions, showcasing his growth as he engages everyone in the strategy, preparing them for the challenges ahead. As Kael emphasizes the plan, Zara raises a concern. "What if the rival gang catches on to our traps? We need a backup plan," she insists, her gaze unwavering. Kael can see her protective nature at play, understanding the importance of considering all angles. "Good point," he acknowledges, the tension of the moment shifting as he thinks. "If we make the traps minimal but effective, we can still leverage their surprise without risking too much." Feeling the weight of their expectations, he adds, "Let's have a few of us ready to adapt depending on how they respond. We won't go in blind." Zara nods, appreciation evident on her face as she sees Kael's willingness to incorporate feedback into their strategy. His adaptability in the face of her challenge reinforces trust, transforming the atmosphere into one of collaboration as they prepare for action. Kael glances around the table, feeling the energy shift as the team collaborates on refining the plan. "Rax, what's your read on their patrols? We need to time everything perfectly," he asks, opening the floor for input. Rax leans forward, studying the map with intensity. "I've seen them rotate every 30 minutes, but it's not consistent. If we can anticipate their movements, we can create openings." Kael nods, appreciating Rax's insight and the effort he's putting into the mission. "Then we set our traps for just before a shift change. That'll give us the best shot at surprising them." The group exchanges ideas, their confidence growing as they refine the strategy together, each member feeding off one another's enthusiasm. Kael feels the shift in dynamics, realizing how fostering open communication leads to stronger plans, showcasing his growth as a leader, prepared for the challenges ahead. With the plan nearing completion, Kael looks around at his team, their faces illuminated with determination. "Let's get to work. We need to spread out and set everything in place before dark," he instructs, feeling the weight of leadership settle comfortably on his shoulders. Everyone nods, energized by the clarity of the plan and the trust they have in Kael. "Remember, communication is vital. I want updates constantly as we position ourselves," he adds, emphasizing the importance of teamwork. Zara gives him a confident thumbs up while Rax moves to gather materials, visibly motivated to contribute. Kael watches as his team disperses, each member taking on their tasks with purpose, and he feels a sense of pride swelling within him, knowing they are all aligned and ready to face whatever comes next. As the sun sets behind the horizon, casting long shadows across the ground, Kael takes a moment to gather his thoughts before the operation begins. He stands at the agreed rendezvous point, nerves tingling as he reflects on everything that led them here. "All right, everyone ready?" he calls out, glancing at the faces of his team members, each one filled with a mixture of determination and apprehension. Zara steps up beside him, her expression fierce. "Always ready, Kael. Let's do this." Rax adjusts his gear, still visibly anxious but showing a flicker of trust. Just remember, we're in this together, he says, a hint of camaraderie shining through. Kael nods, feeling the strength of their unity as they prepare to move forward, ready to implement their hard-earned plan. Chapter 15, a shocking turn. As the dust settles from their confrontation, Kael stands among the remnants of the chaotic battle, heart still racing. He glances around at the scene, the ground littered with debris and the weight of loss hanging thick in the air. Despite their victory, the reality of their situation rests heavily on his shoulders. They lost allies in the fight. Kael takes a deep breath, trying to ground himself, knowing he must gather the team to assess the damage and determine their next steps. Let's regroup and take stock of what we have left, he calls out, attempting to rally their spirits amid the somber atmosphere. His gaze wanders to the faces of his comrades, each reflecting a mix of triumph and grief that underscores the complexity of their hard-fought battle. Kael scans the area, searching for any remnants of supplies or weapons they can salvage. Let's break into teams and gather what we can, he directs, organizing the group into pairs for a more efficient search. He feels the urgency of their situation. Every resource now matters more than ever. As the team disperses, Kael begins sifting through the debris, examining what's left behind, scattered gear and remnants of their old planning. He finds a few usable weapons and medical supplies, pride swelling in his chest as he realizes that even in this chaos, they can still recover and rebuild. The atmosphere shifts slightly as members return with their finds, Kael's leadership and optimism fostering a renewed sense of camaraderie and determination within the group. As Kael gathers the secured supplies, he notices Zara engaged in a heated discussion with Rax, their voices rising amid the tension. "Why did you not come back for cover? We could have lost everything," Rax exclaims, frustration etched into his features. Zara, equally agitated, responds, "I had to keep them distracted. You could have trusted me instead of blaming me now." Kael feels the tension between them as the argument unfolds, understanding their fear and anger stemming from the recent conflict. "Enough," Kael interjects, his voice cutting through the rising emotions. "We need to stick together. Pointing fingers won't help us move forward." Their eyes shift toward him, the weight of their conflict momentarily paused as they consider his words, emphasizing Kael's role as a mediator in rebuilding their fractured trust. Kael steps closer, scanning their faces to gauge the tension lingering in the air. "I get it," he continues, his voice steady. "We've all made choices in the heat of battle. What matters is how we move forward from here." He takes a deep breath, feeling the gravity of his words. "We need to learn from these moments, not let them divide us." Zara nods slightly, still visibly shaken but open to Kael's perspective. Rax, arms crossed, stares down, wrestling with his emotions before finally meeting Kael's gaze. "You're right, I need to trust the team more." The air begins to clear as the two teammates exchange a glance of understanding, marking a step toward reconciling their differences. With the team finally regrouped, Kael organizes them for their next steps. "All right, we know what we need to do," he begins, a renewed sense of confidence flowing through him. "We'll set up defenses here and keep watch for any signs of the rivals. The plan isn't dead, it's just modified." He lays out the revised strategy, emphasizing everyone's role while keeping a steady eye on their reactions. Rax appears more engaged now, nodding as Kael outlines how to strengthen their position. "Let's work together to patch what we lost," Kael encourages, instilling a sense of teamwork and resilience among them. As they begin executing the new plan, Kael feels a sense of accomplishment wash over him, knowing that his leadership is fostering unity and adaptability in the wake of their challenges. As the team starts to implement their new strategy, Kael moves among them, carefully observing their progress. He helps reinforce fortifications, ensuring that each barricade is secure and strategically placed. "Zara, check the perimeter. We need to know if they're moving in," he instructs, and she sets off, unwavering in her focus. With each completed task, Kael sees the team's spirits lifting, a flicker of hope reigniting after the recent turmoil. "Keep it up. We're making progress," he encourages, and the camaraderie builds, transforming into a palpable force as they work together. Kael feels the weight of leadership shift, realizing that their collective effort is not just about survival, but also about reclaiming their sense of agency in a chaotic world. Chapter 16, Shadows of Doubt. As the team settles into their makeshift camp for the night, Kael receives unsettling news from one of the scouts. Joran didn't make it back, the scout reports, a somber expression shadowing their features. Kael feels his heart drop, and the gravity of the moment weighs heavily on him. He gathers the team, knowing they need to address the loss, but he also understands that their mission cannot falter now. "We need to regroup and think strategically," he states, pushing down his own grief to maintain focus. This moment reveals the stakes of their journey, and the need for resilience becomes even more pronounced as the reality of their situation sinks in. Gathering the team around the flickering campfire, Kael feels the weight of their loss hanging in the air. "Joran was a vital part of this team, and his absence will be felt," he begins, his voice steady but filled with emotion. Kael glances at the faces of his comrades, noting the mix of grief and determination within them, understanding the gravity of the moment. "We owe it to him to continue our fight. We need to honor his memory by pushing forward, not letting fear or sorrow dictate our actions," he urges, trying to instill hope amidst the rising tension. "Joran taught us how to be stronger, to lean on each other for strength," Zara adds, her voice breaking slightly as she speaks. Kael nods, feeling their collective strength as they process their emotions, binding them together in their shared resolve to move ahead. As the team reflects on their loss, Rax speaks up, his voice steady but tinged with uncertainty. "What if we go after the rival gang directly? What if it turns out worse for us?" Kael meets his gaze, feeling the tension between fear and resolve echo throughout the group. "I understand your concern, Rax, but if we don't act, we let Joran's death be in vain," he counters, grappling with the implications of vengeance versus caution. The air thickens with the weight of their choices, and Kael feels the push and pull of their emotions as they confront the reality of conflict. "Each of us has to take a stand. We've grown stronger together, and we can't let that strength dissipate," Kael asserts, trying to rally their spirits while confronting the fear pervading the space. The support and trust he hopes to instill begin to waver as they grapple with the grief and uncertainty of the mission ahead. Kael takes a moment to gather his thoughts, feeling the weight of leadership settle heavily upon him. "There's a fine line between revenge and justice," he says, his voice firm but filled with understanding. He glances at each team member, gauging their reactions as he continues. "We have to channel our anger productively. It's about protecting our future and taking back what is ours." Zara leans forward, the firelight reflecting determination in her eyes. "We need to plan carefully. Reacting out of anger can blind us." Kael nods, appreciating her insight. "Let's set up a strategy that ensures we don't just lash out. We take organized steps, using our strengths to our advantage." As the team begins to discuss tactics, Kael feels a renewed sense of direction, knowing that their resilience will be vital in the face of adversity. As the discussions heat up, Kael facilitates the input, guiding the team to focus on practical steps they can take. "Let's gather intel on their movements before we act. We need to know where they're vulnerable," he instructs, emphasizing the importance of preparation. Rax remains cautious but engaged, noting, "If we can cut off their supplies, it will weaken them significantly." Kael smiles, appreciating Rax's contribution as the team begins outlining potential targets and strategies. "Exactly. We disrupt their resources and force them to react to us," he affirms, feeling confidence swell within him as they embrace a collaborative atmosphere. This moment, filled with fresh ideas and determination, reflects the growth they've all experienced through adversity and fuels Kael's belief in their mission's success. Kael stands at the forefront of the team as they finalize their plan, a sense of urgency driving the group forward. "Let's move out. The longer we wait, the more time they have to prepare," he urges, feeling the electric tension in the air. They gather their gear, the focus palpable as each member understands their role in the mission ahead. Kael scans their determined faces, ready to lead them toward the next confrontation. "Stay sharp and stick to the plan. We'll remain flexible. I'll keep an eye on any changes," he reinforces, his leadership exuding confidence that helps solidify their resolve. As they set out, Kael feels a firm understanding of their collective strength, knowing that their unity and adaptability will be essential to overcoming the obstacles ahead. Chapter 17, The Confrontation. As Kael leads his team deeper into the rival territory, tension thickens in the air. Every sound seems amplified. The distant voices, the rustling of leaves, and the quickened beats of their hearts. He scans the area for signs of danger, determination etched on his face as he pushes the group to maintain their focus. Stay close. We can't afford to lose anyone now, he reminds them, knowing that the stakes have never been higher. Feeling anxiety ripple through the team, Kael clenches his jaw, knowing that his conviction must outweigh their fears. Remember what we discussed. Teamwork and communication are our greatest strengths, he asserts, trying to instill confidence as they navigate the shadows. As they move stealthily, Kael focuses intently on the shadows around them. He senses the rising tension, aware that they are approaching a critical area where the rival gang congregates. Zara, check the outskirts for guards. We need to know if we're being watched, he instructs softly, keenly aware of the stakes involved. Zara nods and slips away with practiced stealth, while Kael's heart pounds in anticipation. Moments stretch as he waits, the sounds of the world around them fading into the background, leaving only the rhythm of his breath. Finally, Zara returns, urgency in her eyes. There are more guards than we expected. We need to adjust our approach. Kael's mind races as he processes Zara's report, recognizing the weight of the new information. All right, we need a new strategy, he declares, urgency infusing his tone. He gathers the team, their eyes filled with expectation as they await his direction. We'll create diversions at multiple points to draw their attention away from the main entrance, he explains, the plan forming rapidly in his mind. Rax looks worried, shifting his weight uneasily. What if we're outflanked? This could get dangerous. Kael meets his gaze, determination hardening his resolve. We can't let fear dictate our actions. We adapt and we move forward together. With the plan in mind, Kael gestures for the team to spread out, their roles clearly defined. Zara, you lead the team on the left, creating the first diversion. Rax and I will handle the right side, he instructs, feeling the sense of purpose building among them. The group quietly moves into position, the tension thrumming in the air as they prepare for action. Kael glances at Zara, who gives him a nod of reassurance, reflecting the trust that has been forged through their shared experiences. Stay focused and keep your lines of communication open, he reminds them, emphasizing the need for unity and cooperation. As they take their places, Kael's heart races with anticipation, knowing that their success hinges on how well they can implement the new strategy. As the diversion begins, Zara moves swiftly to execute her part of the plan, her heart racing with adrenaline. She throws a series of small, noise-making devices around the perimeter, creating a cacophony that pulls the guards' attention away from the main entrance. Kael watches from his position, the intensity of the moment amplifying as he signals Rax to stay low and follow his lead. Now, he whispers, and they dart forward, slipping through the shadows as the guards' focus is diverted. The sound of shouting and confusion rises behind them, fueling Kael's resolve as they approach the building. He feels a pulse of victory surge within him, recognizing the power of their teamwork as they press forward into the fray. As Kael and Rax slip into the side entrance, the sounds of chaos echo behind them, a testament to Zara's successful diversion. They move through the dim corridor, weapons drawn, keenly aware that every moment counts. Keep your eyes peeled, Kael urges, feeling the adrenaline course through him as they advance deeper into enemy territory. Suddenly, they hear footsteps approaching, and Kael signals for Rax to flatten against the wall. Let them pass, he murmurs, holding his breath as the shadows loom closer. The guards walk by, oblivious to their presence, and Kael feels the intensity of the moment sharpen his focus, reinforcing the importance of strategy and stealth in their mission. Chapter 18, A High-Stakes Decision. Kael stands at the head of his team, adrenaline surging through him as they prepare for the final confrontation. The air is thick with tension, and the weight of their mission feels heavier than ever. Today, we take back what's ours, he declares, his voice strong and resolute. Each team member nods, their faces set with determination as they gather around him, ready to follow his lead into battle. Kael feels their trust bolstering his own resolve, solidifying his role as a leader who will guide them through the chaos. With the plan clear and their spirits high, he adjusts his grip on his weapon, ready to face the challenges ahead. As the team moves into their positions, Kael scans the area, noting the rival gang members gathered just ahead. His heart pounds in his chest, but he pushes through the nervous energy, focusing on the task at hand. Zara, get ready on the flank. Rax, prepare to cover us, he instructs, his voice steady as he directs the flow of their movements. He feels the weight of responsibility as he leads, aware that their success depends on his ability to coordinate their efforts effectively. With confidence finding its way back into his mind, Kael steadies himself, remembering the training that has brought them to this moment. On my signal, we move in together. Stay sharp, he declares, adrenaline pumping as he prepares to unleash their strategies against the rivals. As the tension reaches a boiling point, Zara steps up to Kael, her expression fierce. I've got your back, but we need to make sure we're on the same page, she says, her voice firm, indicating the gravity of the moment. Kael nods, appreciating her courage and commitment. I know, and I trust you. Let's stick to the plan, but be ready to adapt if things change. The team falls silent, each member absorbing the intensity of Kael's words as they prepare for the upcoming confrontation. Rax glances at Kael, uncertainty flickering in his eyes again. If this goes south, what's our exit plan? He asks, a note of apprehension threading through the group. Kael meets his gaze, realizing that reinforcing their escape strategy is just as vital as their attack plan. We'll create a diversion if we need to pull back. Remember, the main goal is to gather intel and stabilize our position. Kael feels the weight of responsibility bearing down on him as he considers Rax's concerns, understanding that the team's trust in him hangs in the balance. He steps closer to Rax, his voice calm yet firm. I appreciate your caution. We've been through too much to charge in without a plan. Zara adds, we'll be here to back you up, Rax. We've got your six. Her reassurance prompts a slight shift in Rax's demeanor, the tension in his shoulders easing as he nods. Kael takes a deep breath, internalizing their doubts while reminding himself of the strength within their unity. Together, we're stronger. We'll navigate whatever comes next, he declares, his resolve crystallizing as they prepare to face the enemies ahead. As the moments tick by, Kael rallies the team one last time. Stay focused and trust your instincts, he reminds them, feeling the energy surge around him. Zara, you will create the diversion. Rax and I will cover the main entry. If things get dicey, remember the fallback plan. The group nods, their eyes reflecting the weight of the mission. Kael feels the fire of determination build within him, ready to face the uncertainty ahead. On my mark, we move, he commands, the anticipation hanging heavy in the air as the team readies for action, united in their resolve. With a swift nod, Kael counts down under his breath, feeling the weight of leadership surge through him. 3, 2, 1, now, he shouts, and Zara bursts into action, creating chaos at the opposite end of the compound. The distraction works perfectly, drawing several guards away from their posts, allowing Kael and Rax to slip silently through the main entry. Kael feels a rush of adrenaline, his heart racing as they navigate the darkened hallways, determined to reach their target. Stick to the walls and stay quiet, he reminds Rax, the urgency in his voice keeping them aligned. As they move deeper into enemy territory, Kael mentally prepares for whatever challenges lie ahead, feeling a strong sense of purpose guiding him forward. Chapter 19, Thunder in the Night. As Kael and his team reach the heart of the rival compound, the atmosphere shifts dramatically. The air feels thick with tension, a mix of anticipation and dread hanging over them as they prepare for the confrontation they have fought so hard to initiate. Kael glances around, noting the darkened corners where shadows linger and the faint sounds of voices echoing through the halls. Each step they take heightens his awareness, the adrenaline coursing through his veins as he mentally solidifies their plan. Stay sharp, he instructs quietly, his senses on high alert as he feels the intensity of their upcoming challenge pressing down on him. With every heartbeat, he steers the team towards their destination, determined to face whatever obstacles lie in wait. Kael leads the way into the main corridor, where clutter and debris create a sense of urgency. He scans the environment for anything that might give them an advantage, his instincts heightened by years of training and experience. "Let's move quickly and quietly," he instructs, keeping his voice low to avoid alerting any enemies. As they advance, Kael spots a series of heavy crates stacked against a wall and considers their potential use. "Rax, can you help me move those? They could serve as cover if we run into trouble." Rax nods, immediately moving to assist, and together they shift the crates into strategic positions, reinforcing their defenses as they prepare for the inevitable confrontation. As Kael and Rax finish moving the crates, Zara returns from a scouting mission, her expression serious. "They've got more guards than we anticipated," she informs them, her voice tense. Kael's heart sinks momentarily, but he quickly pushes that doubt aside. "How many?" "At least double what we thought. Plus they're armed and alert," she replies, glancing around as if expecting an ambush. Kael feels the pressure mounting, but knows this information can't be wasted. "We need to adapt our strategy. If we split into smaller teams, we can create a distraction while the others slip in." Zara nods in agreement, trying to mask her anxiety. "I can lead one of the distractions." Kael's confidence in her ability reinforces his determination as he begins to formulate a new plan. Kael feels the intensity of the moment shift as he weighs their options. "Zara, you'll need to take the east exit and create a diversion." "Rax, stick with me. We'll approach from the north side," he instructs, outlining the new strategy with purpose. He senses the team's energy change, a mix of apprehension and resolve. "Just remember, if anything goes wrong, we regroup at the fallback point," he emphasizes, making sure everyone understands the importance of their contingency plan. Rax, still wearing a look of disbelief, glances at Kael. "Are you sure this is going to work?" Kael meets his gaze, feeling the weight of the group's expectations, but confident in their capabilities. "We've trained for this, and we're stronger together. Trust the plan and trust each other." With the plan set in motion, Kael takes a deep breath, feeling the adrenaline surge as they prepare to execute their strategy. He watches as Zara moves into position, her determination evident as she readies herself for the diversion. "On my count," Kael whispers, focused on the timing of their moves. 3, 2, 1, now, he commands, his voice cutting through the quiet as Zara springs into action, creating a loud noise to disrupt the guards. As the guards turn, distracted by the commotion, Kael signals for Rax to follow him toward the entrance. Every muscle in Kael's body is alert, his command now a catalyst for their success as they move swiftly forward, ready to capitalize on Zara's distraction. As Kael and Rax slip into the dimly lit interior, the atmosphere shifts, filled with the tension of the mission ahead. Kael's heart races, every sound amplified in the silence as they navigate deeper into the stronghold. "Keep your guard up," he whispers, moving cautiously as they assess their surroundings. Suddenly, the sound of footsteps echoes from a nearby corridor, sending adrenaline coursing through him. Kael gestures for Rax to flatten against the wall, holding his breath as the footsteps grow louder. A pair of guards pass, oblivious to their presence, and Kael feels the gravity of their stealthy maneuver, understanding that success hinges on their ability to stay hidden and work as a cohesive team. Chapter 20. Rewind the tape. Kael stands in the center of their makeshift command area, surrounded by scattered maps and reports detailing their recent encounters. He takes stock of their progress, fingers tracing the outlines of territories they've fought to reclaim. With a deep breath, he begins to check off completed objectives while noting the tasks still pending, feeling both a sense of accomplishment and the weight of what lies ahead. "All right, team. We've had some victories, but we also have to look at what we've lost," he says, facing his gathered comrades, hoping to instill a sense of unity in the face of their challenges. He turns his attention to their supplies, assessing what they have left and what they need to gather for the next mission. "It's time to strategize. We need to adapt to ensure we're prepared for the fight ahead," Kael explains, determination guiding his words as the team leans in, ready to listen. Kael studies the intel gathered during their last mission, noting their lost resources and identifying gaps in their strategy. He remembers the chaos of the ambush, the loss of Joran still fresh in his mind, and feels a wave of responsibility wash over him. We need to rethink our approach, he declares, gathering everyone's attention. He points to specific areas on the map where they were vulnerable, resolving to fortify their defenses and improve their tactics. Let's prioritize scouting and securing intel before we strike again. Knowledge is power, he emphasizes, his voice filled with conviction as he paces the room, rallying his team to focus on their next steps. Kael observes their reactions, sensing their readiness to adapt, which fuels his determination to lead them toward strategic recovery. As Kael speaks, Rax interrupts, his voice filled with skepticism. Are we sure we can even trust the intel we gathered? Last time it led us into a trap, he challenges, arms crossed, eyes narrowed. Kael feels a surge of frustration at Rax's doubt, but reminds himself to stay calm. Rax, I get that you're wary, but we can't base our strategy on past mistakes. If we don't adapt and learn, we'll fall behind, he replies, striving for patience. Zara steps in, sensing the brewing tension. We need to focus on what works now. If we collaborate, we'll strengthen our position, she asserts, trying to bridge the divide. Kael nods, appreciating her attempt to unite the team. Let's build on our strengths and not let fear control our choices. Kael takes a moment to assess the room, sensing the weight of the doubt lingering in the air. I understand where you're coming from, Rax, he begins, meeting his eyes with sincerity. We all feel the fear and uncertainty lingering from our past battles, but each experience teaches us something valuable. Kael looks around at his team, their faces reflecting their struggles and their desire for growth. We have to channel that fear into action. We need to strengthen our resolve, he adds, determination infusing his voice. As he speaks, he feels the energy in the room shift, his words gradually igniting a spark of confidence in his comrades. Together, we can turn our lessons into opportunities and face the challenges head-on, he concludes, solidifying their commitment to move forward, undeterred. With their spirits lifted, Kael begins to outline their immediate next steps. Let's distribute tasks based on our strengths. Zara, you'll lead the scouting team to identify any rival movements in the area. Rax, I want you to gather intel from the merchants. They often have news from the streets, he instructs, his voice filled with authority. The team nods, energized by Kael's renewed leadership and clear direction. Remember, communication is key. Check in regularly. He emphasizes, knowing that maintaining coordination is essential for their success. As everyone sets off to tackle their roles, Kael feels a sense of pride swell within him, reinforcing his confidence in their ability to adapt and thrive. He takes a deep breath, ready to face the challenges ahead, understanding that every action now will lead them closer to reclaiming their future. As Kael watches his team disperse, he feels a surge of determination fueling him. He heads to a nearby wall, spreading out a fresh map adorned with the latest intel gathered from their reconnaissance. This is where we'll set up our defenses, he decides, marking key locations while picturing each segment's significance within their plan. Kael's thoughts are interrupted by the arrival of Zara and Rax, returning with their findings. Zara, what did you discover? He inquires, eager to integrate her insights. She breathlessly explains the movements of the rival gang, noting their patterns and potential weaknesses. Kael's eyes narrow as he processes the information, excited by the new possibilities that lay in front of them. Chapter 21, A Shocking Turn. As the team gathers to review their intel, Kael feels an unexpected weight pressing on him. The atmosphere is tense. With the recent success comes the burden of higher stakes. He gazes around at his comrades, feeling a mix of pride and concern, knowing they're about to embark on a mission that could shape their future. Before we head out, we need to address the rumors about Jax, Kael states, drawing everyone's attention to the unspoken tension. His betrayal still lingers over us, and we can't let that affect our focus. Kael watches as the team absorbs this, aware that unresolved conflicts could jeopardize their mission as they prepare to confront their rivals. With the tension palpable, Kael takes a deep breath, focusing on the task at hand. We need to strengthen our defenses, he continues, scanning the faces of his team for signs of understanding. I want to ensure there are no surprises. Every corner, every alley, we need to cover our bases. As he speaks, Zara raises her hand. What if we're ambushed again? We can't risk falling into the same traps. Kael turns to her, grateful for her concerns. "That's exactly why we have to be smart about how we move," he replies. He feels the weight of leadership settling on him, but is determined to make decisions that unify the group rather than divide them. "Let's go over our escape routes and make sure everyone knows their roles before we proceed." As the team huddles around the map, Kael feels the tension heighten again. "Let's review this escape route. If we run into trouble, we need a clear way out," he instructs, tracing a path with his finger. Rax leans in, looking uncertain. "What if the escape gets blocked? We should have a backup plan." Kael meets his gaze, recognizing the fear beneath Rax's skepticism. "You're right. We need options, so let's map out a second route just in case." Zara listens intently, preparing to take notes, showing her engagement with the group's strategy. Kael feels encouraged as he sees his teammates rally around the revised plan, reinforcing the importance of adaptability in the face of potential danger. Kael scans the room, feeling the weight of his responsibilities pressing down on him as they finalize their preparations. "Losing Joran feels like a heavy blow, but it can't define us," he states, sensing the lingering grief among the team. He watches as they absorb his words, the somber mood a reminder of the stakes they face. "Let's honor his legacy by bringing our best to this mission," he adds, injecting resolve into his voice. Zara nods, determination lighting her eyes. "We will make him proud. We owe it to him and ourselves." Kael feels a renewed sense of purpose within the team, binding them together with shared intent as they prepare to face their challengers. With the team focused and spirits rising, Kael takes a moment to reinforce their unity. "Remember, strategy isn't just about tactics, it's about trust. We need to have each other's backs out there," he emphasizes, looking each team member in the eye. Rax, still dealing with the weight of their previous failures, nods slowly. "I'll do my part. Just be careful out there, all right?" Kael acknowledges Rax's words, grateful for his willingness to commit despite lingering doubts. "Absolutely. We'll stick to the plan and adapt as needed," he replies, feeling the confidence of the team beginning to solidify into something greater. "All right, let's show them what we're made of," Kael declares, infused with determination, ready to lead his team into the upcoming confrontation. As they prepare to move out, Kael feels the weight of their shared purpose solidify in the air around them. "Let's stick together and keep our lines of communication open," he instructs, ensuring every member knows the importance of their role in the mission. He senses a mix of determination and anxiety strumming through the group, acknowledging the stakes involved. With one last look around, he gathers them closer. "We fight not just for survival, but for each other. That's what makes us strong." The rallying cry resonates through the team, lifting spirits as they absorb Kael's message of unity. Feeling their collective energy, Kael leads the way, ready to face whatever challenges lie ahead, confident in the bonds they've formed and the lessons they've learned together. Chapter 22, The Aftermath of Chaos. As the dust settles from their latest encounter, Kael gathers the team in a corner of their makeshift headquarters. The air is thick with disappointment and loss. They lost an important ally during the confrontation. Kael can feel the weight of their collective grief as he looks around at his comrades, each of them reflecting on the price of their mission. "Joran didn't make it back," he announces, the words heavy on his tongue. A wave of silence washes over the group, the reality of their situation hitting hard as they process the loss. Kael takes a deep breath, knowing he must navigate the emotional landscape carefully as they assess their next steps. Kael looks around the room, searching for the right words to maintain their morale. "We need to come together and reassess our situation," he states, the urgency in his tone reminding them that they still have a mission to complete. "Let's focus on what we can salvage. We can't let Joran's sacrifice be in vain." As he reassures the team, he notices their expressions shifting from grief to a nascent determination, understanding the importance of pushing forward. He quickly starts to delegate tasks, organizing the team to check their supplies and evaluate what they lost. "We'll use what we can, and we'll find new ways to adapt," Kael insists, feeling the weight of responsibility as he adapts their plan for the clearly different circumstances. As Kael organizes the team, Zara approaches him with a furrowed brow. Kael, we should have had a better plan to protect Joran, she begins, her voice tinged with remorse. Kael feels the weight of her words, but pushes down his frustration. I know, Zara. We all share that regret, but right now, we need to focus on our next steps. She crosses her arms, still grappling with her emotions. It's hard not to blame ourselves for what happened. Kael meets her gaze. Understanding the struggle of guilt that hangs over them, we learn from our mistakes. We can't let this define us. A flicker of determination shines in Zara's eyes as she nods, slowly shifting from despair to a resolve to move forward. As the group processes their emotions, Kael's mind races with thoughts of what lies ahead. We've faced challenges before, and we'll face more together, he says, striving to instill a sense of purpose amid the uncertainty. He glances at the team, each member dealing with their own fears and doubts, yet all their eyes are fixed on him, waiting for direction. We need to adjust our strategy to protect what we have left, he continues, redefining their focus as he outlines a revised plan. The team listens intently, and he can sense the shift in their energy, aware that they are slowly coming together despite the earlier tensions. Kael understands that this moment of crisis holds the potential for growth. He's learned that resilience, not just strength, will lead them through the darkness. With a renewed sense of urgency, Kael begins to delegate tasks again, focused on maximizing their remaining resources. Zara, gather everyone to strategize on our next move. We need fresh intel on the rivals' movements, he instructs, feeling the familiar pull of leadership guiding his actions. Rax, check on our defenses and see if we can fortify any weak points. We have to be prepared, he adds, knowing each detail could make a difference. The team springs into action, a newfound determination evident in their movements. Kael watches them go, understanding that every decision he makes now will contribute to rebuilding their strength and confidence. Feeling the weight of responsibility, he recognizes that their resilience will only deepen the bonds they've formed during their journey. As his team gets to work, Kael feels a mixture of hope and determination wash over him. This regrouping is not just about collecting physical resources, it's about rebuilding trust and morale within the group. Kael gathers everyone again, grounding himself before speaking. We know the risks ahead, but we also have each other. Let's focus on moving forward. He takes a moment to look each team member in the eye, trying to instill confidence and assurance in their shared mission. Together, we grow stronger. Let's take what we've learned and make it work for us, he continues, emphasizing their resilience. As they nod in agreement, Kael feels a renewed sense of unity, understanding that their journey has prepared them for the challenges that still lie ahead. Chapter 23, The Path Forward. With the morning sun rising over the horizon, Kael sets out to seek aid from Lydia, a key ally known for her resources and connections. Navigating through the city, he feels a mix of determination and uncertainty as he prepares for the meeting. Each step carries the weight of responsibility. He knows that this outreach could shift the course of their ongoing struggle. As he approaches Lydia's territory, Kael steadies his breath, focusing on the importance of this connection. He spots Lydia's tent, adorned with symbols of her influence, and steels himself for what lies ahead. Kael knows that forming alliances is essential to bolstering their efforts against the rival gang, and he's determined to make this negotiation count. Kael steps into Lydia's tent, the atmosphere dense with the smells of herbs and spices. Lydia looks up from her cluttered table, her brow furrowing as she assesses him. Kael, what brings you here? This isn't a social visit, she states, her tone direct and businesslike. Kael nods, feeling the seriousness of the situation. I need your help. We're facing increased pressure from the rival gang, and I believe we can form an alliance to strengthen our positions. He watches her carefully, hoping to gauge her reaction. Lydia leans back, crossing her arms. And what can you offer in return? You think my resources come without cost? Tension hangs in the air as Kael realizes he must negotiate effectively to secure her support. Kael takes a moment, weighing his words carefully. I understand your concerns, Lydia. I'm prepared to offer information on the rival gang's movements and potential opportunities for resource sharing, he states, hoping to demonstrate value. Lydia studies him, her expression inscrutable, as she considers his proposal. That may be enough to start, but I'll need assurances that you'll follow through. Kael feels a flicker of uncertainty, but pushes it aside. You have my word. This isn't just a mission for me. I've seen the cost of inaction, and I won't let that happen again. The determination in his voice seems to resonate with her, though doubt still lingers. If you fail me, Kael, there will be consequences, she warns, her intensity unwavering. He nods, ready to accept the responsibility, the weight of his promise forging a new bond of trust between them. As they finalize the terms of their agreement, Lydia leans in closer, her eyes narrowing with intensity. Tell me about your team. Are they reliable? Do they follow your lead? Kael feels the weight of her scrutiny, understanding that she's assessing not just him, but the overall stability of the alliance. They've grown tremendously through adversity, he replies, his tone confident. We're united by purpose, and I trust them implicitly. Lydia nods slowly, her expression softening slightly. If your team is as committed as you say, then I believe we can create a powerful alliance. A sense of relief washes over Kael, realizing that this partnership could fortify their efforts. Together, we can turn the tide against the rivals, he asserts, a newfound determination igniting his spirit as they prepare to move forward. With the terms agreed upon, Kael can feel the shift in the air, a blend of hope and anticipation swirling around them. Lydia gestures toward a stack of supplies piled in the corner of her tent. I'll provide you with what you need, but understand this. If you stumble, we all pay the price. Kael nods, acknowledging the gravity of her words and the burden of responsibility they carry within this alliance. I won't let you down, he promises, feeling the weight of their mutual expectations. As he gathers the supplies, he notices other members of Lydia's crew observing closely, their expressions a mixture of curiosity and skepticism. He realizes that proving himself goes beyond just securing resources. He must also earn their trust as he integrates his team with Lydia's. As Kael collects the supplies, he feels a renewed sense of purpose driving him forward. I appreciate your support, Lydia. This can really turn the tide for us, he says, glancing over at her. She watches him closely, a thoughtful expression crossing her face. Just remember, action speaks louder than promises. Kael nods, absorbing her wisdom as he prepares to head back. Let's take what we've learned and make our next moves count, he replies, fully aware that the actions they take together will define their alliance. With her team watching, Kael embraces the moment, knowing that their collaboration could be the key to overcoming the challenges ahead and solidifying a brighter future for everyone. Chapter 24, A High-Stakes Decision. Kael stands in the center of the dimly lit strategy room, tension radiating from the walls as he prepares to act. His heart races as he reviews their new intel, the details sharpening his focus. This is it, he remarks, looking around at his team, who are gathered and ready. We've seen what the rival gang can do, and we need to hit them where it hurts. He feels a mix of anxiety and determination settle over him, understanding that this decision could alter the course of their mission. Kael takes a deep breath, knowing that what he chooses to do next will define not only their fight, but also his journey as a leader. Without hesitation, Kael assigns roles to each member of his team, using the newfound information they've gathered. Zara, you and Ben will create a diversion at the north side, he instructs, his tone firm and clear. Rax, standing nearby, raises a concern. What if they catch on too quickly? We might get cornered. Kael nods, acknowledging Rax's worry. That's why we need to be quick and adaptable. We strike hard and then pull back if necessary. Flexibility is our best defense. He senses the urgency mounting within the group, but keeps his composure, knowing it's crucial to instill confidence. Together we can execute this plan. Let's show them what we're capable of, he adds, drawing determination from their shared resolve as they prepare for action. As Kael finalizes the plan, he feels the tension in the air ripple through the room. Remember, communication is key, he emphasizes, scanning the faces of his teammates. Zara, you'll need to keep us updated on the diversion's success. Rax, stick with me. We'll assess the situation at the main entrance. With their roles clearly defined, Kael watches as they nod in acknowledgement, determination gradually solidifying in their expressions. He feels a sense of responsibility settle over him, understanding that this mission not only tests their physical strength, but their capacity to work as a cohesive unit. Whatever happens, we adapt and support each other. We'll move swiftly and decisively, he concludes, reinforcing their commitment to the plan and his faith in their abilities as a team. With their roles established, Kael senses an electric energy course through the team as they prepare to move. Let's stay vigilant, he advises, noting the mingling expressions of determination and anxiety on their faces. He realizes that despite their preparations, uncertainty lingers over them, especially concerning potential reactions from the rival gang. As they make their way toward their positions, Kael takes a moment to reaffirm their unity. We've trained for this, and you all know your strengths. Trust in each other and stay focused. Zara gives him a reassuring nod, her confidence shining through, while Rax clutches his weapon, inner anxiety flickering behind his eyes. Feeling the weight of his responsibilities, Kael knows that their collective strength will be crucial as they step into the unknown, ready to face whatever challenges await them. As the team approaches their designated positions, Kael feels a surge of adrenaline driving him forward. He scans the area ahead, taking in every detail, assessing potential threats while mentally rehearsing their plan. Kael quickly gestures for Zara and Rax to take their places, watching as they slip into position with determination. Remember, once the diversion starts, we need to move in quickly and decisively, he reminds them, his voice steady and filled with conviction. The moment feels electric, charged with the anticipation of action, as Kael aligns himself with Rax, ready for whatever unfolds. He senses the trust in his team growing, with each member now fully aware of their purpose and the stakes, empowering him to take calculated risks for the greater good. With bated breath, Kael positions himself at the edge, signaling for Zara to initiate the diversion. Now, he commands, and Zara unleashes a series of loud noises that reverberate through the stronghold, drawing the attention of the guards. Kael watches as confusion erupts among the rival gang members, and his team swiftly moves into action, following the plan they've meticulously crafted. His instincts kick in as he leads Rax forward, the adrenaline propelling them toward their objective. Stay close and keep communicating, he shouts, asserting his authority while navigating the chaos unfolding around them. Kael feels a rush of confidence, understanding that their unity and his decisive leadership are what will ultimately determine the outcome of this confrontation. Chapter 25, Rallying the Forces. As the dust settles following the confrontation, Kael takes a moment to assess the battlefield, feeling the adrenaline begin to fade. He looks around at the remnants of the fight, broken debris, scattered weapons, and his team's weary faces, all reminders of what they've been through. Kael feels a weight settle on his shoulders as he realizes how high the stakes are and how much they've all risked. Gather what supplies we can salvage, he instructs, his voice steady as he refocuses the team on their immediate needs. He watches as they begin to collect weapons and gear, their movements showing resilience despite the exhaustion. Kael recognizes that moving forward means acknowledging their losses while also reinforcing their strength as a united front. As the team begins to gather the scattered supplies, Kael takes stock of their remaining resources, mentally calculating what they still need. Let's split into groups to maximize our efficiency. Zara, you're in charge of checking the perimeter for any threats. Rax, help me gather the weapons, he orders, feeling a sense of urgency coursing through him. The team moves with purpose, each member knowing their role. And Kael feels a sense of pride swell within him as he observes their dedication. Don't forget to communicate as you move, he reminds them, emphasizing the importance of staying connected. They set to work quickly, Kael noticing how the atmosphere shifts as confidence replaces doubt, a testament to their growth as a cohesive unit. With every resource they find, Kael feels more prepared for the challenges that lie ahead, bolstering his resolve to lead them effectively. As the group disperses to tackle their assigned tasks, Kael feels a mix of excitement and nerves. He heads toward the makeshift armory, glancing around for anyone who might offer insights on the remaining supplies. Rax, how's the weapon inventory looking? Kael calls out, hoping for a positive update. Rax appears, wiping sweat from his brow. We're down a few firearms, but I think we can manage with what we have, he replies, a hint of hesitation in his tone. Kael reassures him, "Let's make sure we fortify our defenses as best as we can. We still have the advantage of surprise." He feels the tension ease slightly as Rax nods, visibly more engaged in the process, highlighting how their teamwork is evolving with every challenge they face. As Kael continues to organize the supplies, he feels a palpable sense of determination within the team. "Let's ensure we all understand our roles clearly before we move forward," he states, gathering everyone's attention. He goes over the escape routes and confirms each member knows their tasks and responsibilities, checking in with them to reinforce their confidence. "Zara, you'll lead the diversion. If anything goes wrong, you call the signal," he instructs, and she nods, her expression serious and focused. Kael watches the dynamics shift as they respond to his leadership. A sense of unity washes over the group as they prepare for the challenges ahead. This moment cements his belief that their collaborative strength is their greatest asset, fueling his commitment to guide them through the upcoming confrontation. As the final moments of preparation draw near, Kael feels the tension in the air turn electric. "Let's stick to our timeline and not rush," he emphasizes, ensuring everyone stays focused despite the adrenaline. He moves among his teammates, offering encouragement and checking in on their readiness, bolstering their confidence as they gear up. "Remember, we're fighting for our future, for each other," he reminds them, his commitment to their cause shining through. Kael observes their reactions, seeing their apprehensions transform into a collective resolve, solidifying his belief in their capabilities. Feeling a surge of pride for how far they've come, Kael prepares to lead them into the fray, ready to face whatever comes next with unwavering determination. With everything in place, Kael gathers the team for one last huddle. "Let's take a moment to remember why we're here," he says, his voice steady and clear. He looks each member in the eye, feeling the weight of their shared journey. "Today, we stand together against those who threaten our home. This moment is about more than just this fight, it's about our future." The group nods, unity evident as they absorb his words. Zara's expression is fierce, bringing a warmth to the moment. "We won't back down. We fight for what's right." Kael smiles, inspired by her passion, knowing that they're all committed to the cause, ready to embrace the challenges ahead. Chapter 26, The Final Showdown. With the way of their losses fresh in his mind, Kael leads the team on a high-stakes rescue mission to retrieve Joran. The tension hangs thick as they approach the rival gang's hideout, shadows deepening around them. "Stick to the plan," he reminds them, feeling the adrenaline flickering in the air, each heartbeat echoing the urgency of their purpose. Kael scans the area, mentally preparing for the obstacles they might encounter, knowing each move must be calculated. "Zara, you and Rax will create a distraction at the entrance. I'll go in and grab Joran," he instructs, determined to ensure everyone understands their roles. With the plan in motion, they approach the hideout, Kael's heart racing, fully aware that every action they take could determine the fate of their mission. As they reach the entrance of the hideout, Kael signals for Zara and Rax to move into position. "On my mark, create the diversion," he whispers, his heart pounding in anticipation of the chaos that will ensue. Zara gives a quick nod, her determination evident as she prepares to act. Kael watches closely, feeling the weight of leadership as he holds his breath, waiting for the right moment. When the signal comes, Zara hurls a smoke bomb into the air, filling the entrance with thick swirling clouds. The commotion catches the guards off guard, their shouts of confusion echoing as Kael rushes inside, ready to retrieve Joran. Inside the hideout, Kael navigates through the thick smoke, his senses heightened as he moves cautiously. The sounds of confusion echo around him, and he spots two guards scrambling to figure out what's happening. "Where's Joran?" he mutters to himself, urgency driving him deeper into the enemy territory. As he rounds a corner, he sees a reinforced door, Joran's prison. Kael approaches quietly, hearing muffled voices beyond, and his heart races at the thought of finally finding his ally. He locates the latch and carefully pushes it open, ready to take his chance, but also aware of the risks that accompany such a bold action. As Kael pushes the door open, the chaotic sounds of the hideout dim slightly, replaced by the sound of muffled pleas from within. His heart races as he steps inside, scanning the room for Joran amidst the stark metal frames and shadows. Joran, Kael calls out, hope mingling with urgency. From the corner of the room, he hears a weak voice respond. Kael, is that you? Kael rushes toward the sound, finding Joran bound and weary but alive. Hang on, I'll get you out, he assures, quickly inspecting the restraints that hold Joran captive, determination fueling his every movement. Kael fumbles with the bindings, his hands shaking slightly as he works to free Joran. Hold still. I'm almost there, he urges, glancing over his shoulder for signs of intruders. With a final tug, the restraints snap loose, and Joran slumps forward, fatigue washing over him. Thank you, Kael. I thought. Kael quickly supports him, urgency returning as the sounds of approaching footsteps reach his ears. We need to move now, he insists, guiding Joran toward the exit. As they make their way back, Kael's heart races, a mix of relief and fear propelling them forward through the haze of smoke. As they reach the exit, Kael feels the heat of the confrontation simmering behind them. Stay low, he whispers urgently, positioning himself in front of Joran to shield him as they navigate through the chaos outside. The noise of the diversion continues to echo, but he knows they can't linger any longer. The team is waiting for us at the rendezvous point. Joran gasps, leaning on Kael for support as they push through the remnants of the battle. Kael feels a rush of adrenaline as he urges Joran forward, awareness heightened by the sounds of potential danger. Just a little further, he encourages, determination fueling his every step as they draw closer to safety, the thought of success igniting their resolve. Chapter 27, Setting the Stage. With the team gathered around a makeshift table, Kael reviews their plan, a map spread out in front of them. Tonight, we set our traps and gather any resources we can find, he states, his voice steady as they focus on the task at hand. He senses the anticipation buzzing through the group, a collective excitement mingling with the anxiety of the task ahead. Zara, you'll lead the diversion team, while Rax and I will handle the main entry, he continues, clearly defining their roles and responsibilities. Kael feels a sense of pride as he sees them rally around the mission, their trust in his leadership solidifying. Let's be smart about this. We need to adapt quickly if things don't go according to plan, he emphasizes, knowing that flexibility will be crucial for their success. Kael watches as the team begins to mobilize, each member taking their assigned roles with purpose. He feels a mix of excitement and adrenaline as they prepare to execute their plan, the air thick with anticipation. Remember the traps, he reminds them, scanning the group for understanding. We need to use the environment to our advantage. Zara checks her gear, her focus unwavering. I'll make sure the diversion gets their attention. Just give me the signal. Kael nods, appreciating her confidence as they synchronize their movements. He can see the determination reflected in each team member's eyes, and it bolsters his resolve as he leads them toward the impending confrontation. As they finalize their preparations, Kael feels the energy shift in the air, charged with the anticipation of what's to come. He checks in with Rax, who is setting up equipment near the perimeter. How are the traps holding up? He asks, wanting to ensure everything is secure. Should be effective if we get them to follow through, Rax replies, a hint of uncertainty lingering in his tone. Kael gives him an encouraging nod. We've trained for this. Trust your instincts. You've got this. Nearby, Zara finishes adjusting her gear, ready for the diversion. Just let us know when it's time to execute the plan. Kael's gaze sweeps over the team, seeing their commitment and resolve, and his confidence solidifies as he feels their collective strength behind him. As they prepare to make their move, Kael feels the anticipation in the air thrumming with intensity. Everyone knows their role, right? He asks, looking around at the determined faces of his teammates. Zara and Rax nod, their expressions reflecting a mix of excitement and nervous energy. Remember, communication is crucial. If something doesn't go as planned, adapt and let me know, he reinforces, instilling a sense of urgency and accountability in the room. Kael's heart pounds as they gather their weapons, each of them focused on the mission ahead. Let's do this together, he urges, feeling a powerful sense of unity and resolve as they prepare to execute their well-laid plans. With everything in place, Kael gathers the team for one last huddle. Remember, we've trained hard for this moment, he says, his voice steady and full of conviction. He feels a mix of urgency and pride as he looks each member in the eye. We can't let setbacks define us. What we face today is not just about survival, it's about reclaiming our future. Let's go out there and show them what we're made of, Zara urges, her enthusiasm infectious. Murmurs of agreement ripple through the group, building their collective determination. As they prepare to execute their plan, Kael's confidence swells, fortified by the trust and loyalty that binds them together, ready to face whatever confronts them. As the team takes their positions, Kael feels a swell of adrenaline coursing through him. "Let's do this," he calls out, the urgency in his voice echoing in the charged atmosphere. Zara readies herself, casting a determined glance back at Kael. "I'll handle the distraction. Just give me the signal." Rax stays close to Kael, his expression reflecting both fear and readiness as they await the next move. Kael looks around at his teammates, recognizing their collective strength and steadfastness. "Together, we can overcome anything," he adds, instilling confidence in the group as they prepare to face the storm ahead. Chapter 28, The Final Showdown. Kael stands at the forefront of his team as they prepare to execute their carefully crafted plan. The atmosphere is charged with tension, every heart beating in sync with the anticipation of the confrontation. "Remember, we move as one. Stick to your roles and trust your training," he instructs, projecting confidence to the group. Each team member nods, their commitment reflected in their expressions as they lock eyes with Kael. He takes a deep breath, grounding himself, knowing that their success hinges on their unity and preparedness. With the weight of leadership resting on his shoulders, he stands ready to lead them into the battle that will define their futures. As the team advances toward their target, Kael's heart races with a mix of fear and determination. He scans the area for any signs of movement, his instincts on high alert as they approach the rival gang's stronghold. "Zara, you'll start the diversion on my command," he instructs, feeling the weight of leadership resting heavily on his shoulders. She nods, her focus sharp as she prepares to execute her part of the plan. Rax glances at Kael, anxiety surfacing again. If this goes wrong, Kael meets his gaze, determination shining through. "It won't. We're ready for whatever they throw at us." With every heartbeat, the urgency intensifies, and Kael readies himself, knowing that their success depends on staying united and adaptable. As the tension in the air thickens, Kael gestures for the team to move into position. "Once Zara starts the diversion, we move in quickly," he whispers, his voice low but firm. Zara crouches near a stack of crates, her eyes fixed on the guards stationed at the entrance, ready to spring into action. Kael turns to Rax, who is still grappling with anxiety. "Stay close to me. We'll flank them when the time is right." Rax nods, visibly more engaged now, but the undercurrent of worry still lingers in his posture. Kael feels the weight of leadership as he watches Zara prepare. He knows their success hinges on timing and their ability to adapt mid-mission. As the diversion unfolds, Zara creates a series of loud noises that echo through the stronghold, successfully diverting the guards' attention. Kael watches, heart racing with the thrill of anticipation, as the guards begin to shuffle toward the commotion, their expressions filled with confusion. "Now, move in," he commands, urgency bubbling in his chest as he signals Rax to follow him towards the entrance. Together, they slip through the shadows, using the element of surprise to their advantage. Kael feels the adrenaline coursing through him, his focus narrowing on their objective, driven by the need to retrieve critical information and secure their position. Every step forward reinforces his confidence as he guides Rax into position, ready to confront any challenges that arise in their path. Inside the stronghold, Kael navigates through the dim corridors, alert to every sound as he leads Rax toward the data they need. The echoes of distant shouts from Zara's diversion fuel his determination, reminding him of the stakes involved. "Over here," Rax whispers urgently, pointing to a door marked with enemy insignia. Kael presses forward, his pulse quickening, ready to breach the door. "This might lead to the intel we need," he murmurs, feeling the weight of responsibility surge within him. He checks the surroundings for guards, ensuring the coast is clear, then gestures for Rax to cover him as he pushes the door open. Kael steps inside, prepared to face whatever awaits, knowing that their efforts and sacrifices have led them to this critical moment. Inside, the room is dimly lit, filled with the hum of machines and scattered papers detailing the rival gang's operations. Kael takes a moment to absorb the sights, adrenaline coursing through him as he realizes the potential impact of what they've uncovered. "Rax, cover the entrance. I'll check the files," he instructs, sensing the urgency of the situation. As he rummages through the papers, he finds vital information about the rival gang's plans and movements, promising insight that could change the game. "Look at this," he calls out, excitement tinged with disbelief as he gestures toward a map marked with their rivals' key locations. This crucial find reinforces his commitment, fueling his resolve to lead his team toward a decisive victory, reminding him of the importance of trust and collaboration in their ongoing fight. Chapter 29, Picking Up the Pieces. Kael surveys the aftermath of their recent confrontation, the echoes of battle still ringing in his ears. The stronghold lies in ruins, remnants of chaos scattered across the ground, broken crates, discarded weapons, and signs of the struggle lingering like shadows. Kael feels the weight of loss pressing on him as he takes stock of what remains. A mixture of triumph and sorrow fills the air, proof of their arduous fight. "Gather what supplies you can salvage," he calls out to his team, urgency lacing his voice as they begin to assess the damage. He notices the exhaustion on their faces, but also a flicker of determination as they move through the remnants, searching for anything they can use. Kael knows that while they've won this battle, the path ahead will require resilience and careful planning to ensure they don't lose sight of their ultimate goals. As the team begins to collect their scattered resources, Kael feels the dual weight of loss and responsibility. "Let's divide into pairs to gather what we can," he instructs, feeling the urgency in every word. He watches as they move quickly, assessing their inventory and searching for any usable supplies left in the aftermath. Kael approaches Rax, who is sifting through a pile of rubble. "What do we still have?" he asks, hoping for a positive update. Rax straightens up, shaking his head. "We've lost some vital gear, but there are still a few weapons here and some food supplies," he replies, underlying worry creeping into his voice. Kael nods, understanding the severity of their situation. "Then we make do with what we have and plan our next steps wisely." As the team continues to search for supplies, Zara approaches Kael, her brow furrowed with concern. "Kael, we need to talk about our next move," she says, her tone serious. Kael looks at her, sensing her urgency. "What's on your mind?" "I know we've secured some weapons, but if we push forward without proper support, we could be walking into a trap again," she warns, worry evident in her voice. Kael absorbs her words, feeling the anxiety in the pit of his stomach. "I get it, Zara. We have to be smart about how we proceed, but we also can't let fear dictate our actions." He looks around at the team's efforts, recognizing that their survival hinges not just on equipment, but on their collective strength and resolve to face whatever challenges await them. Kael stands amidst the scattered supplies, contemplating Zara's concerns as the team gathers around him, weighing their next steps. "Let's take a moment to assess what we have left," he suggests, surveying the array of weapons and resources they managed to gather. He notices the weariness etched on their faces, a blend of fatigue and determination. "We need to figure out how to use these resources effectively." "There's strength in what we've collected. We can still make a difference," he says, instilling a sense of purpose. Kael encourages them to brainstorm, pulling together their insights and experiences, hoping to create a solid plan that can adapt to any complications. Recognizing this as a pivotal moment for his leadership, he ponders how their successes and failures will shape their journey moving forward. As the discussions continue, Zara steps forward, her expression resolute. "Kael, if we're going to make a move, we need to make sure everyone is trained and prepared. We can't afford to have any surprises," she insists, her intensity cutting through the uncertainty in the air. Kael nods, recognizing the importance of her suggestion. "You're right. We need to continue sharpening our skills while we prepare for the next phase." He calls for a training session, stating, "Let's use whatever time we have to ensure we all feel confident in our roles." The team agrees, rallying around Zara's initiative, eager to build on their strengths. Feeling the energy shift towards focus and determination, Kael feels a sense of pride swell within him, knowing that every moment spent preparing helps bind them closer as a cohesive unit. As the training session begins, Kael observes the team as they stretch and warm up, the atmosphere electric with anticipation. "Listen up, everyone," he calls, trying to capture their attention. "Today we focus on teamwork and communication. We need to be able to rely on each other when it counts." He demonstrates a tactic that combines offense and defense, illustrating how they must adapt to different situations during combat. Zara picks up quickly, stepping in to lead a drill, guiding the newcomers through the motions and embodying the principles Kael has instilled in her. Kael watches, impressed by her ability to take charge and inspire the team, feeling a surge of confidence in her leadership. The newfound synergy among the team fosters a sense of unity, reinforcing Kael's belief in their shared strength as they prepare for the challenges still to come. Chapter 30, A New Beginning. With the sun rising over the horizon, Kael gathers the team, ready to reflect on their journey and the challenges that lie ahead. He stands before them, the morning light casting a warm glow on their determined faces. "Today, we build on what we've learned and remind ourselves of our purpose," he begins, his voice steady and confident. He looks out over each team member, feeling the weight of their shared experiences and the bond they've forged through adversity. "We have faced losses, but those experiences strengthen us. Every moment has prepared us for what's to come." Kael feels a renewed sense of hope wash over him, realizing that the journey has not only been about survival, but also about growth and unity. As he speaks, Kael notices Rax fidgeting slightly, uncertainty still lingering in his eyes. "What if we're not prepared enough?" Rax voices, his concern evident and drawing attention from the others. Kael pauses, recognizing the importance of addressing his teammates' fear. "I understand your worries, Rax, but we have trained hard and proven ourselves. We need to trust our skills and each other." Zara steps forward, her gaze unwavering. "We've come too far to turn back now. We face this together, no matter what." Encouraged by her support, Kael feels the tension ease slightly. "Exactly. We've built a solid foundation, and we'll adapt whatever the situation throws at us," he affirms, feeling the resolve of the team strengthen as they rally around a shared goal. As discussions shift towards refining their strategy, Kael watches his teammates closely, noting their mixed expressions of excitement and apprehension. "We all have our roles in this mission, and every piece of the puzzle matters," he reminds them, reinforcing the importance of their contributions. Zara looks around, her energy infectious. "If we coordinate our movements, we can turn their strengths into weaknesses. We've got this." Her confidence stirs a wave of support from the group, dispelling some of the lingering doubts. Rax glances at Kael, a flicker of trust evident in his posture. "I'll give it my all if you believe in this plan." Kael nods, filled with appreciation as he recognizes their growing trust in him and each other, solidifying his belief that they can overcome the challenges ahead. Kael's gaze shifts back to the map spread across the table, a visual representation of their shared challenges and aspirations. "Every decision we make from here on out is critical," he asserts, feeling the weight of responsibility settle on his shoulders. He recognizes that navigating their next moves requires not just strength, but also a strategic mind, honed from recent experiences. "We're not just fighting to survive, we're fighting to reclaim our future." The team absorbs his words, a palpable resolve igniting among them. In this moment, Kael understands that their collective experiences, successes and failures alike, will shape the path they carve moving forward. With everyone focused, Kael takes a moment to outline their immediate objectives. "Let's make sure we're all clear on our roles moving forward," he emphasizes, drawing the team's attention. He points to the different locations on the map, delegating responsibilities with precision. "Zara, I want you to lead the scouting efforts. Rax, you'll support her and manage communication. We need to stay connected." His authority is evident as he actively involves everyone, inviting their input and fostering a sense of teamwork. Kael feels a swell of pride as he encourages each member to share their insights and concerns, reinforcing the importance of collaboration. This approach not only solidifies his leadership, but also empowers the team, allowing them to contribute meaningfully to their collective mission. As the team prepares to head out, Kael stands at the forefront, a sense of purpose solidifying within him. Today is about more than just this mission. It's about our future, he reminds them, his voice strong and unwavering. He sees the team nodding, emboldened by the significance of their shared goals. Let's move with intention and trust in one another, he adds, instilling confidence as they approach their objective. With a final glance at the map, Kael feels the weight of responsibility transform into resolve, igniting his ambition to lead them toward success. Together they step into the uncertainty ahead, united as they embrace the fight for their lives and their future. Chapter 31, The Path Forward. Kael returns to the training grounds, the familiar sights and sounds washing over him as he steps into the bustling space. The chatter of teammates and the clanging of metal resonate in the air, grounding him in the reality of their mission. He pauses for a moment, taking in the vibrant energy around him, contrasting with the solemn weight of recent events. Determined to re-engage, he walks toward the group, noting how each member's demeanor reflects both readiness and resilience. "All right, let's get back to training," he calls out, his voice ringing with authority. Kael moves with purpose, eager to revive their spirits and reinforce the bonds they've built through their shared journey. Kael begins organizing training drills, structuring the sessions around the skills they need to strengthen further. "Today, we're focusing on teamwork and communication," he announces, pulling out a few wooden practice swords to demonstrate the intended exercises. He watches as the team gathers, their expressions a mix of enthusiasm and determination, ready to engage in the training. "Pair up and practice your defensive maneuvers," he instructs, observing as teammates quickly find partners and assume their stances. Kael circulates among them, offering tips and guidance, helping to refine their techniques while fostering a collaborative spirit. As he encourages them, he feels the connection between the team grow stronger, understanding that each moment spent training is building not just their skills, but their trust in one another. As the training session progresses, Kael notices Rax struggling to keep up with the drills, frustration etched on his face. "Rax, are you all right?" Kael asks, stepping in to assess the situation. Rax shakes his head, embarrassment coloring his cheeks. "I just can't seem to get the timing right. I keep messing up." Kael watches him closely, sensing the tension in Rax's posture. "We've all been there. Just remember, it's about progress, not perfection. Focus on your technique." He demonstrates the movement again, emphasizing the rhythm, and encourages Rax to take it slow. "Let's work through it together." Zara, observing from a distance, nods in support, appreciating Kael's willingness to help Rax push through his challenges. Kael's patience and understanding reinforce their bond, reminding Rax of his place within the team and the strength found in perseverance. As they continue to practice, Kael takes a step back to observe the team, noting the progress they're making together. "Great job, everyone. I can see improvements already," he calls out, encouraging their efforts and boosting morale. He catches Zara's eye as she executes a flawless maneuver, and he realizes how much her confidence has grown through their training. "Zara, you're really nailing it," he praises, and she beams at the recognition, her determination visibly strengthening. Rax, now feeling more confident, tries the technique again, this time connecting with the rhythm and flow of the movements. Kael feels a sense of pride swell within him. Each small victory reinforces the team's resilience and commitment, marking a pivotal moment in their journey together. As the training session progresses, Kael feels a surge of confidence in his leadership, inspired by the team's growth. "Let's take a quick break and regroup," he announces, sensing the need to keep their energy levels high. He watches as the team gathers around, stretching and catching their breath, the camaraderie evident in their interactions. "Remember, it's not just about individual skills, it's about how we work together," he reinforces, the words echoing through their shared experience. Rax approaches, a newfound determination shining in his eyes. "Thanks for your help earlier, Kael. I feel like I'm getting better." Kael smiles, proud of Rax's progress. "You're doing great. Keep pushing yourself, and we'll all improve together." In this moment, Kael recognizes the significance of their collective effort, understanding that fostering these relationships is as crucial as any training exercise. As they return to their training, Kael observes the team with a keen eye, noting the way their confidence has grown. "Let's build on what we've practiced," he encourages, his tone infused with resolve. He outlines new drills that challenge their teamwork and coordination. "Today, we're incorporating a new strategy for working as a unit under pressure." The team nods, eager to engage and excited by the prospect of honing their skills further. Kael sets them up in pairs, reminding them of the importance of trust and communication. With every executed drill, Kael feels a sense of validation in his abilities as a leader, understanding that they are not just training to fight, but building connections that will empower them in the battles to come. Chapter 32, Bonds Beyond Battle. With the team gathered around the fire, Kael feels the weight of unresolved conflicts still lingering in the air. "We need to address what happened during the last mission," he begins, his voice steady, drawing the group's focus. The flickering flames illuminate their faces, revealing expressions of concern and anticipation as they listen. "We lost Joran, and that loss has left a mark on all of us," Kael continues, acknowledging the shared grief that has settled between them. Zara shifts uncomfortably, her gaze fixed on the fire. "We should have been better prepared," she responds, the frustration evident in her tone. Kael nods, understanding the significance of this moment in confronting their pain while solidifying their bond as a team. Kael turns his attention to Rax, who sits with arms crossed, his expression filled with uncertainty. "I know you're worried about what happened," Kael says, trying to engage him directly. Rax looks up, his voice tinged with frustration. "It's just hard not to feel responsible. We're supposed to have each other's backs." Kael nods, recognizing the weight of Rax's words. "I understand that feeling, but we can't let guilt cloud our judgment. We need to learn and move forward." Zara chimes in. "We have to focus on our next steps, on how we can take this experience and turn it into strength." Kael feels the dynamic between them shifting, realizing that acknowledging their fears allows them to bond more deeply as a team. As the conversation continues, Kael watches the dynamics shift within the group, sensing a blend of vulnerability and determination. "Maybe we should look at what went wrong," Zara suggests, her voice steady. "If we can identify our weaknesses, we can strengthen our approach moving forward." Kael appreciates her proactive mindset, feeling encouraged by her willingness to learn. "Exactly," he replies, nodding in agreement. "We can break down what happened and use that information to avoid similar pitfalls next time." Rax, still processing his emotions, leans in. "But it has to be a team effort. We all need to be on the same page." Kael feels the weight of Rax's words as he responds. "Absolutely. It's about supporting each other and growing together, no matter what obstacles we face." Kael feels the gravity of the moment as he looks at his team, recognizing the importance of their bond. "We need to turn this experience into something constructive," he emphasizes, feeling a sense of duty to guide them forward. He reflects on their previous victories and losses, mulling over Joran's lessons about the value of every encounter. "I know it's hard, but let's use this as motivation to train harder and be smarter in our planning," he suggests, a wave of conviction flowing through him. Zara meets his gaze. Determination bloomed in her eyes. "Together, we can grow stronger. We owe it to ourselves to bounce back." Kael nods, inspired by their resilient spirit, and feels the promise of a renewed purpose igniting a fire within them all. Kael opens the floor for ideas, encouraging everyone to contribute their thoughts on how to move forward. "Let's brainstorm ways we can bolster our training and strategies," he prompts, eager to hear the team's insights. Rax raises his hand hesitantly. "What if we focus on specific skills, like ambush techniques or negotiation tactics?" "That's a great idea," Kael replies, pleased to see Rax engaging more. "If we can master those areas, we'll be prepared for anything the rivals throw at us." Zara adds, "We should also simulate some of the scenarios we might encounter. Realistic training can help us think on our feet." The team buzzes with excitement, collaboratively shaping their approach as Kael watches their confidence grow. Feeling the momentum shift, he knows that these discussions will lead to tangible improvements and prepare them for future challenges. With the planning session coming to a close, Kael feels a renewed sense of clarity wash over him. "Let's put these plans into action as soon as possible," he states, his tone infused with determination. He gathers the team for one final huddle, wanting to ensure everyone is aligned and motivated. "We've made substantial progress today, and I believe we're ready to take this next step together," he says, looking from face to face, feeling the bond they've created. Zara smiles encouragingly, while Rax appears more confident, his previous doubts diminishing in the light of their discussions. Kael knows that their collective growth and the knowledge gained will serve as a strong foundation for tackling whatever challenges lie ahead, solidifying his role as a leader committed to their success. Chapter 33, Legacy of the Fight. With the sun rising over their training grounds, Kael stands before the gathered team, ready to begin a new chapter in their journey. The fresh morning light casts a hopeful glow, illuminating the faces of those who have fought alongside him. "This is a new beginning for all of us," he starts, his voice steady and filled with conviction. He surveys the group, noting how each member carries the marks of their experiences, a testament to their growth. "Today, we focus not just on survival, but on building a better future together," he continues, feeling the weight of responsibility lift slightly as he addresses their shared goals. Kael recognizes that this moment is not just about immediate plans, but also about fostering the unity and trust that will carry them through whatever challenges lie ahead. As the team absorbs Kael's words, a renewed sense of hope begins to fill the air. Kael notices Rax talking to a group of recruits, sharing stories of their recent battles and encouraging them to embrace the lessons learned. "I know it's been tough, but we've proven that we can adapt and overcome," Rax says, his confidence growing as he leads by example. Zara, nearby, observes with a proud smile, recognizing the shift in her teammates as they engage with each other and work to expand their skills. Kael feels a swell of pride seeing the next generation of fighters taking shape, realizing that the bonds forged through their struggles are now paving the way for new possibilities. He encourages the team to take initiative, knowing that their growth is a collective effort, setting a foundation for the future they all aspire to achieve. As the training progresses, Kael stands back to observe the interactions among the team. He notices how Zara takes the lead in demonstrating techniques, a confident instructor now rather than just a fighter. "Keep your stance balanced and remember to breathe," she guides the recruits, her enthusiasm infectious as they absorb her instructions. Kael feels a warm glow of pride at how each member contributes, recognizing the strength of unity forged in adversity. Rax shares a laugh with a few recruits, encouraging a sense of camaraderie and support that empowers those around him. Kael realizes that each transformation, from fighters to mentors, signals a promising future, one rich with hope and the possibility of forging a legacy together. As the training session winds down, Kael stands at the edge of the training grounds, reflecting on the progress they've made. He watches as the team gathers around, sharing stories of their experiences and laughter, the atmosphere lightened by their camaraderie. "I'm proud of how far we've come," he announces, drawing their attention. "Each of you has grown stronger, and today proves that we're more than just a team. We're a family." The group responds with nods and murmurs of agreement, reinforcing the bond they've developed. Kael knows that embracing their shared struggles has not only shaped their abilities, but has also laid the groundwork for their future endeavors. With a renewed sense of purpose, he realizes that their journey has forever changed, steering them toward new ambitions that extend beyond survival alone. As the team stands united, Kael feels a rush of excitement, realizing they are ready to face whatever challenges lie ahead. "Let's set our sights on not just surviving, but thriving. Together, we can reclaim our future and fight for what's right," he declares, his voice filled with conviction. The murmurs among the team grow into cheers, a palpable sense of determination filling the air as they absorb his words. Zara steps forward, eyes shining with enthusiasm. "We are stronger than we've ever been, and we will push on no matter what." Kael feels the energy wash over him, their unity empowering him further, and he knows this commitment will propel them into their next adventure. With each interaction, he senses the friendships they've fostered, ready to navigate the unknown and embrace the journey that awaits them. As the sun sets, casting a warm glow over the training grounds, Kael gathers his team for one final huddle. Together, we'll face new challenges and embark on new adventures, he says, his voice steady and inspiring. The crowd murmurs in agreement, emboldened by his words and the journey they've shared so far. I trust each of you to carry our mission forward and lead when the time comes, he adds, knowing their growth is vital to their future. Each member nods, a newfound sense of responsibility forming within them as they prepare for what lies ahead. Kael feels a profound sense of hope and determination wash over him, realizing that their collective strength will guide them through anything the future holds, ready to forge a legacy together.